in terms of doing completing your assignment and even your practical problems what you are talking about in your enterprise AI. So what we will do in today's session, if you don't have any further questions on the last three sessions, then let me start with this. Today we are going to talk on the prompt engineering. Once we are able to complete the major thing, then I will talk about some of the context engineering as well. But I have not mentioned in agenda because I have taken already too much in terms of prompt engineering, why, what, and what are the different parameters, how do you design the prompts, prompt engineering techniques, then I do have that definitely will be able to complete. On top of it, tomorrow anyway, tomorrow in the sense, okay, next week the same slot we are giving to the another instructor or professor. So to take the lab session, I think Dr. Vinay. So when he is able to focus on the Azure, so as some of you asked, okay, some local installation also, if you are able to demonstrate, I'm planning to do. So that depends on anyway how fast we'll be able to do it, but not at the cost of any terminology new and all that. Even today also you'll be hearing some more new terminology. Let's focus how much we'll be able to. I have some minimum things anyway to complete till the prompt engineering techniques. Then after that, we do have some time on the demo session and asking your assignments. And even after that, if you have some time left, then I'll be taking the PEFT, parameter efficient fine tuning. Otherwise, I'll shift it to the another slot. As of now, we are going up to speed as per the topics, but when we are expecting more to cover on the agentic AI or even on this loop engineering and then agent harness or maybe harness engineering. So depends on how well we'll be able to cover these, and then accordingly we will be able to review. Otherwise, also I'll give you right references in case if you are not able to cover any advanced topics, right? So we'll try to do the balance. And only thing is, if I jump too fast and then just to cover it, that will not fly well. That's what my experience with the previous thing. At the same time, the when we taught this one for a couple of an year ago, roughly the similar concepts. Compared to that, the cohort members have much more knowledge, right? So that gives me flexibility to add every time some new topics, right? See how far we will be able to go here, and then uh, go deep into what we want to achieve in prompt engineering. The reason is, even though there are a lot of advanced techniques and all, we still have enough problems using the foundational models to solve just with prompt engineering. So RAG is also will come later. Only with the prompt engineering also, there are enough problems which we are solving in the industry, which we are deploying in the production. At the same time, the prompt engineering, just what comes to our mind means prompt means only, okay, one line, two lines, what we are giving. No, there are things which I know, couple of pages. The prompt itself is running through couple of pages, following different design patterns, different structures. Not like 10 pages is one prompt, but we split it into different structures to maintain, but that can be as big as that, just as an example. So that's why it is very important. Let's go into the details. Let's understand the design patterns. Let's understand the engineering aspects to the, as a business leader, how much deep you need to go. Then we'll try to practice that as well. Okay. So yeah, Niyaz, you have a question?
Yes, Professor. So yesterday you have illustrated the training engineering and the economics with a
Uh-huh.
table. And
Yeah.
if possible, please give us with respect to inference economics also with some models like with
Mm,
what happens as well as and another thing is you have mentioned about 10 pages prompts. So,
mm.
usually the number of tokens, what can be processed by a prompt
Process that. Yeah.
and how it, tries to take it. And when in the current, this one, when these prompts are evolving, should we have to be, like a, feeding to a kid, like you should act like so and so, doing so and so, or some things are being inferred, and how the
Mm.
context of the user is being stored to process these prompts, and those aspects you can mention those.
Definitely. So what I will do is for that inference, when I talk about, I will club that usually with that context engineering, token optimization, some of those earlier points, right? So let the cohort have a decent understanding. in terms of what is the prompt engineering, what is RAG, what is CAG, cache augmented generation, or these fine-tuning techniques, then it will be useful for me to take the real world scenario. I may not be able to take exactly the same use case because of the IP issues, but I'll be able to abstract it out in a general thing. Okay, this is the kind of a problem statement, whether the DB search, doc search, whatever we can share public. On top of it, some numbers to tell you in terms of, okay, typically this, if the page is one prompt, sorry, if it is one page prompt, then we are running these many cycles for these many customers, how many tokens it may translate to. Then whether based on your the dollar calculation is much simple. Once I have the millions of tokens, if I tell you, and then just multiply with 10 cents or $1 depending on the reasoning model or this model, right? That is easy for us. So why I covered this training inference before is because we want to be very clear why foundational models everybody, you and me, are not building. Right, so that we are able to get as of yesterday, and then this inference also I'm noting it down. So I'll bring some kind of what you call the inference the tokens, and then how what kind of token optimization we will see, what kind of techniques as we speak now in terms of Gen AI and agentic AI, we will be able to, what is the term we are using? Inference,
Inference engineering or economics.
economics we are talking, right? Yeah, I'll give maybe dedicate some time after covering these fine tuning techniques.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, that will be helpful, definitely. Okay, so let's jump to the topic for today. Before I show what is prompt and all, at least the basic terminology as of now, what you are familiar to some extent, or maybe getting familiar. One is the foundational model. Yes, we have a good understanding of what is a foundational model, and then why we are calling it also, right, as foundation, because it is not directly solving enterprise AI problems. Most of the general questions, queries, and all it may be doing. That's what the foundational. But we'll be able to use some techniques, right, in terms of prompt engineering. Why I highlighted? Because I'm able to discuss today itself. Then RAG, or LHR, fine tuning, parameter efficient fine tuning. Let me tell the definitions first, so that when we are using this terminology, you are at least understand, yes, what is that? Then we will double click on each of them in the subsequent sessions as well. So there are some examples from the foundation model. Whenever you see this foundation model, the name of it, where it is coming from, like OpenAI or Meta, and this B means billions of parameters. Even the Llama, Llama 2, Llama 3, or 3.1, 3.2, we have seen a lot of such versions. There are different versions of it with the respective parameters. 3 billion, 7 billion, 70 billion. Like the famous ones are like Mistral, Falcon, Llama for open source, and then GPT-4 or Claude and these things from a closed source. So the prompt engineering per se, so what does it mean? There is a huge amount of knowledge which is being trained on the public data. Okay. So that's kind of an oracle for us. And then when we ask some set of questions, we are getting some answers. But what we need to understand here is asking the right set of questions. I keep telling when we visit these uh, young guys as well, whether it is a batch, I was addressing some recent batch of MBA in one of the premier institute. So what I was telling them is the way our education system typically, because we have people from multiple countries in this cohort, most of the places we are being tested based on how well we can write the answers, right? But the way this Gen AI is changing our mindset, which may be much easier for the younger generation than us, to be frank, is how well we can question, right? Now the knowledge is there, the questioning right way, right? So that we'll get the right answers, right? That's what, in a simple layman words, in prompt engineering means, right? So the way we are earlier, the programming or the design or web app development, these are actually the skills which the humans have. Now, what is happening? A lot of things are being embedded into these foundational models, whether it is a specific model or general model. The knowledge is there, right? So now it is becoming a commodity for us. Then it is on us how well you are giving that instructions. When I say one page prompt, you need to be very clear in terms of what you are trying to ask, and then what is your requirement. You give as much as the details required. Even simple website development, Website development means earlier we do have a lot of process. The content, yes, even we need to give based on our requirement. On top of it, this is the theme you want. This may be edtech versus health tech versus the particular region I'm targeting, particular age group I'm targeting. If you give those details, it can suggest you the best themes as well, and give the even what we have the first level of prototype, and then get it into the, I'm not saying completely directly ready for the production yet, but we are not very far from that, right? So the point is how well we'll be able to design those inputs in terms of questioning these foundational models to produce required output. That's what we are all covering today in the prompts first, and then what is engineering aspects of that. Some of them may not be enough only with the prompts, especially the use cases of your enterprise AI, because those LLM models, whether it's 7 billion, 70 billion, or 700 billion, they never exposed to your enterprise AI requirement or enterprise AI specific data, because that will be a violation if at all they are able to get to that, right? So definitely we need to give little more information. If it is only one document, rest of them are the general knowledge, then even prompt engineering can take that, right? So small one document, two document, that doesn't matter. But they usually we have a lot of knowledge base, maybe in our database, maybe in our documents, maybe in our Excel files, or it may be in a different form, right? So how do we push that depending on whether it's the database or create a vector database, right? So that those details will go into the next session. But the point is we want to add our enterprise AI related information, and that is a one-time setup. We want to do it, then retrieve it based on the query, and then augment it from an LLM point of it, so that we'll get a specific to enterprise level output. Whereas RLHF, the next technique what we are talking about here, is a reinforcement learning from human feedback. So we usually get, if you just recollect from your chat GPTs of the world and all, maybe 2 years ago, if you recollect, there is no thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe whether you are happy with the answer. That kind of things are not there earlier. But now you can see there is a lot of interaction, even getting into the source truth, where from it is picking, right? These are all the efforts to build the trust and then get the feedback from the human. And then whether you are, I'm not saying you are correcting immediately the, let's say, retrain a model based on that. No, because that is a cumbersome process. But still, that feedback is being taken and then able to consolidate those things. And then how do you take it in a short term and long term? There are different techniques for that. Similarly, the fine tuning, sometimes the people may say that okay, entire thing is fine tuning of the foundational. Fine tuning doesn't mean that it's a retraining, right? That's the last step. So usually they're saying customizing a model for your applications, right? Some people may say okay, even prompt RAG and parameter, everything is a fine tuning. But in specific terms, in prompt engineering and RAG, I'm not touching at all the model weights directly or indirectly. In case of PEFT, parameter efficient fine tuning, without touching the original weights, the weight means all your neural networks, whatever the 7 billion parameter, those trainable parameters, I'm calling it as weights. So this parameter efficient fine tuning is able to adopt some of the large pre-trained models, that's where the foundational models are, to specific downstream applications in your enterprise by tuning a few extra parameters what we added. Maybe instead of 7 billion, maybe 5% of it, some 3.5 million parameters, or maybe 1 million parameters. So those are the extra parameters people add instead of the original entire set of parameters, which is cumbersome to update. That is the kind of a trick, I will say. It's not like a original method, but that is helping us to do faster and make specific required enterprise AI applications. So these are the things we are going to spend time for at least next 3-4 sessions. Today we are talking about prompt engineering, next week on the RAG, and the same week we are talking about the prompt engineering practice. Week after we will be talking about some of the fine tuning techniques, right? Some of them we can club it in the other in link to the other sessions as well. But these are the things which we are going to spend at least 3-4 sessions from now. Okay. So, any questions on the basic terminology before I deep dive into prompt engineering?
Actually, can I ask I know you will be covering it later, but just
No
for
problem.
visualizing it, parameter efficient fine tuning, you said that some models, some of the parameters are adapted. Can you
Yes.
give me an example of how, just a high level?
High level means it will be easy for you to some of the even though if I introduce today the topic, some adapters or maybe some kind of transformer components, you may not be able to get fully 100% of it. But two sessions later, again, the second part of it I'll cover. By the time you understand transformer, what do you mean by addition model, what do you mean by adapters, that time it is easy for me to enable, yes, this is how it is happening. But at this stage, what I can tell you is, let's say the 7 billion parameter of Llama 2. You tried prompt engineering, you tried RAG kind of, still you are not happy with the, let's say, the performance of the model. Then what you need to do in terms of speed, you can because compared to RAG, the parameter efficient fine tuning should be much faster. The reason is you are trying to you are taking a lot of effort to fine tune a model by adding some extra parameters in the weights and then updating those to satisfy your requirements which are being added. So naturally, it needs to improve the performance at the same time reduce the latency, right? So that's the main purpose what we are doing. And then to give you an example, let's say in our telecom world 2 years ago, we have seen some applications of it. And then even in the telecom or healthcare, any of these regulated environments, there is a huge corpus of documents. So in telecom, if I just give you telecom, also you can everybody can understand because we are all using 4G, 5G things, right? So there will be 3GPP documents are there. Does it make sense when I say that term for you? There are a lot of
Sorry.
standard
Yeah,
documents for this
right.
4G, 5G, and all. There are hundreds of documents which are available in public, kind of a thing. But I don't think they are all. Maybe they have used it. Some of the LLMs, I don't know, entire GPT. But at least I am sure the Llama 2s, Llama 3s, or Mistrals might not have used that because there's a very specific to a domain, right? And that too is not very common domain, right? So we used those hundreds of such standard documents, including a lot of these jargons of this telecom. We tried prompt engineering, RAG, and all. It is becoming overwhelming and it is impacting the latency. Then we went to this PFT kind of a mode, and then we are able to develop with the models. That time, even with I don't have this Gen AI full-fledged capability as well. I'm talking about 2 years ago. Then, with some researcher, we are able to show the value and then even published. Some of them I can tell. I'm not directly part of that paper, but when we are guiding the team, I'm sure that is being published. And then what value we are bringing on the table is the latencies in our control. And then we are able to upload maybe out of 3 billion parameters, maybe a million parameters. It's not like too many parameters have been fine-tuned based on the documentation of it, right? So that's the example I can give.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're good so far, then slowly go into the details and then because this is a very common term, I'm sure you are also doing the prompt, not as an engineering though, but I'm sure you are using the prompt. So what is your way of telling what is the prompt in your view? Because you are using, if not in enterprise AI, even in our day-to-day activities or for these GPTs. So what is your way of defining a prompt?
We are to communicate our intent to a LLM.
Good. Go ahead, Leon.
For me, it's using Claude, asking very specific questions to Claude, and using that tool as an example. Versus when ChatGPT came out originally, I would ask questions and I would not get the answers I was looking for. So I had to keep refining my questions, being more and more specific. That would be my example.
Mm-hmm. That's also good. So who else? Jansi Rani, you want to?
Yes, professor. So from our side, prompt is nothing but like we can say we are commanding our train model to get the
Mm-hmm.
desired output. So how much we give the details, then only we will get the
Mm.
output. So the if we give the less details, obviously it gives unnecessary content. So That's very important to talk in the level of desired output. So, what kind of output I want, the same level of input I would like to give you. So, that's what a prompt is coming, and it is also very important. This is my view.
Correct. We will optimize that further, and then how do you take it? Those things and all will come later, but your intention is correct, right? At the same time, what will happen is if you give too much of that, there is a trade-off you require. Otherwise, it will consume too many tokens. Then initially, yes, you may need to give instruct so that it is all understanding the overall context. Then how do I optimize? We can do it. But your point is taken. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Atif.
To me, it depends on the situation. Sometimes I need something very specific.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like old times going to the library. You know what you're
Mhm.
researching, but you never know what you're going to find. So you want
Mhm.
to keep it a little bit broad, a little bit open, a little bit challenge it, let it
Mhm.
challenge you and see.
Yeah, that's good. So, while I'm defining those things, right? So, yes, it is not a new term for which I'm introducing, but I'm just giving some more details because we are talking about prompt and some engineering, some temperature, top key, so some of the terms as well. But slowly, let's go into the details. A prompt is a natural language text describing the task, what you have that an AI should perform, right? So we are not talking to a human which has the common sensic knowledge. No, you should be able to tell. But some places, what will happen if you log in with your credentials and all, it may understand, yeah, you are, let's say, Andy, and you are joining from this location. You may be your background, whatever the information publicly available. That may be there already. Every time you don't require to tell I'm Andy and then I need these answers, this and all, right? So that is one way to look at it. Then second thing is you are telling the model what kind of information you want it to give you. So that means how much of details you want to go, just like Jansi Rani was talking about, as what kind of optimism. So for us also, getting the right set of answers, getting the detailed way is the first step because we want to get the confidence that it is giving. It means the LLM is giving the right output for us. We are able to tune that, right? Whether it is happening only with the prompt or RAG or PFT, that's a different levels. One, two, three, four. So in that process, we do have a lot of other problems in terms of hallucination and how do you this that all later. But the point is, you will first get that right set of answers. Then I will go into the optimization mode. Then how do you really do a trade-off, right? So that all anyway we will cover as well. So if you another mm, aspect is maybe within the prompt engineering, maybe you may hear some other term like in context learning. Okay, in context learning. It's not context engineering yet, but the people keep on giving some of these terms like this. So in context learning is defined as model's ability to temporarily learn from the problem. We are not updating original weights, anything like that. So mostly these RAG, and then even in the prompt engineering also, can I say within your whatever your regular Copilot of the world or maybe the GPTs, you can upload your document of your enterprise or personal and then get the answers specific to that content. Have you ever tried that as well? Yes, no? Yeah,
Yes, Professor. Yeah, you
Yes,
tried that.
definitely.
yes, we
So
tried.
there also, what does that mean? It is more like some example of an introduction. So if you ask me prompt engineering, is it compulsory to upload those things? No, not really. But can you do it as a step? Yes, you can do it. And then that also how much I can give depending on the context length. You remember yesterday sequence length of 20, what is that, 2048 or something, or 8K. So that is all depends on, even towards the end, I was talking about, Google is talking about maybe 1 million tokens or even infinite kind of possibility down the line. So these all may happen, but at the cost. For when you have the when you want that luxury, yes, you need to ready to pay more, right? So, but the when you keep hearing these kind of new terms, don't worry. Just understand what the terminology may be related definitely to some of the things what you are already learning. So now, if I go there in that details, I will not go line by line in each of these, but important ones I will go into the details. So what is important for us here is what I have started drawing on the, where is this? Yeah, pointer on the left side. So you need to have an idea at least what is your objective. It may be as simple as a one-line question you are asking, you are getting. That doesn't require too much of thinking and all that. But in many of the cases, you are starting with an idea, converting it into your prompt, whatever is there in your idea form, you are trying to make it into a prompt. You are getting a result, and then trying to test and feedback. That means giving it to the LLM. In the first shot itself, you may not get the right answer, right? You are trying to refine it further, refine your idea, change the prompt. Initially, you may be giving only not starting with a big design pattern and all that, right? But slowly we are getting into the design patterns. So when I use the term design pattern, so have you come across that term in any other situation, like your software engineering, any of your earlier walks of life, or you are hearing for the first time?
Software
Yes,
engineering.
Professor, I have heard about it. So basically,
Yeah,
we follow the design patterns to separate the business logic and
exactly.
three-layer architecture, where uh, you know your presentation and business logic and everything
Mm,
should be separately. So
yeah. So most of the cases, these terms are being borrowed from the existing terms, but they are trying to uh, define it again for this kind of Gen AI world, right? So similarly, the design patterns here, whether it's for Gen AI or even for agentic AI, right? These are more like some best practices. So when they start, I know practically when I interacted with a couple of companies who are doing this Gen AI and agentic AI, is more like AI progression, right? It's not like everybody is working 5 years ago on Gen AI. Very few R&D organization. I can claim maybe I'm using GANs or any of these models, underlying models, not using the term Gen AI from past 8, 9 years. But at the same time, practically when we talk about the LLMs or any of these models are existing only from 3, 4 years, right? So when those things are happening, what really happens is when they start building those prompts, whether it is they're doing it in right way, wrong way, they don't have any clue. They have it is evolving over the time, right? So the same way the best practices and some of these standard way of doing it when they're sharing across the industry, sometimes we may borrow some of the techniques which worked earlier and then bringing it here. So sometimes we are whatever the practice we are doing it, we are evolving it as a design pattern. Both the things are there, and we are going to touch upon at least 4, 5 different such patterns. When to use what and what kind of complexities, those also we will talk. So why we are talking about in the beginning itself is once you understand, okay, this is the prompt, these are some parameters you want to play with, which I will tell in the next slide. Then this is what the engineering is all about. Then people may think it is very simple. But the point I'm trying to tell is it's not that simple as we talk about for a reason. We have a lot of excuse me. So we do have a lot of expectations because the prompt engineer 3 years ago, I'm sure you might have heard the prompt engineer as a most what is that called top rated kind of a job maybe 2, 3 years ago, right? Have you heard the term prompt engineer?
Yes.
Is it the same level of value is there as we speak now in 2026?
no.
Not
It,
really.
it has become a common skill.
Exactly, right? Earlier, it is more like a specialized skill. People are being paid more than the data scientists, right? So, or any of the job in your own regular industry terms, whatever you call, right? And what are the skills they require, if anybody can recollect? What is so special about prompt engineer compared to a data scientist? Already, we do have thousands of data scientists by the time 3 years ago. When they say prompt engineer, what the top 2, 3 skills come to your mind?
Problem framing
Okay.
and
In our organization, I have seen as a prompt engineer, a few of the prompt engineers need to have an understanding of the domain.
Exactly. Mm.
Second thing, the technology stack. In case if they are bringing the details for or serving the technology team, in that case, they should have a complete understanding of the technology stack, which can be combined together, especially the business and the technology, so that they can give the
Mm.
better prompts.
Exactly. So if I summarize 3 things, they need to understand the language as well. So language means because you are interacting with a natural language, whether it is your own language, mostly 3 years ago it is mostly English, but these days now it can be local language or maybe prominent language like Spanish, German and all that. But that time language, your domain and the tech, right? This is the combination which they are expecting top three skills. And then even now, it doesn't mean that it is going away. Only thing is, I never recruited a specific prompt engineer so far, but I have more than 10 prompt engineers who are working with me right now, right? When I inherited some of the team. So what does that mean? And if you ask me now, they started their journey maybe a couple of years ago, not, as a typical application engineers or maybe a Python developer, then slowly transition into prompt engineers. Or some maybe joined as a new engineers as well. Even now, if you ask me, are we recruiting? Yeah, very few, right? But the future looks like it is not like only those are the 5 6 people or 10 people who are doing only the prompt engineering, right? It is becoming a common skill, and other roles also. Maybe you keep hearing vibe coding and the prompt also. By the way, 3 years ago, you need to handcraft those prompts, but these days, even GPT can help you to get the prompts, right? You give, but there also somebody need to give me those inputs, right? How it is going in iterative manner. When more hands are there, again, how do you trust it? Maybe unnecessarily add those complexities, right? That means there are some tools, if not GPTs. You give in your own structured, because you are good at problem solving. You give it. Maybe what is the role of that particular tool is identify optimized approaches, some best design patterns for this. How do you make it into a scalable, then generalizable versus specific? So these also require some more skills, right? Writing the prompts in an effective way. That there are some tools which can help us as well down the line as we mature now. But what you want, what is the output you are expecting? What is the domain skills? That all needs to come from your side only. Keeping all that, when we go into this particular slide and then going into the details, I talked about 2 3 new terms: design patterns, and then maybe I was talking about just 1 second. So there is some reminder call. Sorry for that. Sorry. What I'm saying there is we introduce as of now 4 5 new terms in the last half an hour. Foundation models is not new. Prompt engineering, prompts, design patterns, RAG, retrieval generation, LHF, reinforcement learning, human feedback, and parameter efficient fine tuning. Last 4 terms, I'll go into the details later, but rest of them we are going to talk here. So we already defined what is the prompt. It's more like involving all these instructions, then get it into a context, pass it to an LLM to get the desired task. So we are talking on the 3 4 different styles, but everybody is understanding what we are really aiming for. Then comes the engineering part. Why engineering? That's where we are talking towards the end. There are some tools also to help us and all. Just writing a prompt and leaving it is getting an output is different, right? Just to give an example, these days, I think some institutes, while it is becoming very tough for the professors to give the assignments to the students. I'm not talking about this cohort and all. I'm in the regular engineering or MBA anywhere, right? So some institutes tried like this. Okay, you can use any of the tools what you want to produce the result, but give me the prompts. Okay, so along with the result, what you are trying to get, include a separate section. These are the prompts, or separate document. These are the prompts. These are the tools I used. That also the institute or the professor needs to evaluate how well they are able to use this. Right. So when you are talking at that level, the engineering, you don't require to be an engineer to become a prompt engineering or to use the prompt engineering. The basic that depends on how much of depth you need to go. The basic things only we are going to cover so that it will be easy for you. These are the design patterns which we want to use. This is the kind of parameters I want to play with. Little more details, let the people down the stream can worry about. So it's a practice of developing these optimized prompts so that we can use efficiently, because we are being charged, and that too they are not trivial, right? So yesterday we talked about different news from Meta and then Microsoft. AI is also becoming a big overhead for these kind of big companies. Now imagine for small companies how much of load is that, right? So in the essence, it is more like a useful skill for the different AI engineers and researchers nowadays, even for the people like business people as well, because I don't want to be a full-fledged prompt engineer myself, but the essence of it when you are trying to follow a portion of it, right? 20%, 30% of typically a prompt engineer will do. Even a business leaders also can get it into. So that's where we are talking about creating the set of prompts that are used to guide the user towards a desired outcome. It is a tool for designers to create user experience that are easy to use and intuitive. It is often interactive design and software development, right? If you go further on that, why learn this prompt engineering and what are the terminologies for this, or what are the specific parameters? Let's go into this. So it is important for research and discoveries. We need to test and evaluate these limitations of these LLMs. That's the reason we want to play with that, right? So before I jump to the temperature, top P, max length, all that, let me give you different scenarios. Accordingly, we will be able to select these kind of features. Okay, so the common things what I keep talking about in the next 15-20 minutes is the temperature and top P. Before going and defining it, let's get the bigger scenario. We want the LLM, just think of it in the enterprise AI, but even before that, in a regular AI as well, some questions you are asking to get a deterministic answers. Even if I ask 10 times, you want the LLM to get the same answer. Whereas other side, I want the LLM to be creative while generating your nano banana using that maybe a image or a creative answer, creative poem. So there are two extremes. Do you agree with both of them?
Yeah, but usually it is not uniform across the problem, right?
Uniform across the problem means?
When I am trying to write an essay about if I become a prime minister of India, what will I do? And
Okay.
I want the facts to be at a temperature of 0,
Mhm.
whereas the ideas to be of a temperature of 1, right?
Ah, that means you are trying to. So I think you already know the temperature you are talking about, but even without touching the temperature and top as well, I'm just asking an expectation. The same GPT, I may be using it for getting a deterministic answer, even if I ask 10 times, or the same thing I can give it to be creative as well. Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Otherwise, I'll feel that it's getting hallucinated.
Exactly. So some places we want them to have. Sometimes what we see hallucination is a bad thing, right? Always we have a negative connotation saying that hallucination is bad. But hallucination is bad when we are asking a deterministic kind of an answer. It is trying to change some facts and all that. We are not allowing the LLM to do. But at the same time, let it hallucinate and let it be creative when you talk about the other part of the world, when you are trying to create some images, when you are trying to create some stories, when you are trying to create a poem, that time you need to let it hallucinate. That's okay. But within the boundaries, it can't violate any of the ethical issues or any of those. That is slightly different. I'll talk that later. But are you understanding both the scenarios? In your case, maybe you are giving an example where it is needs to be not. It's not. It is lying in between, right? It's not like fully creative. It's not like fully it can ignore the fact. That is the kind of extreme cases we will talk about anyway. But the point I'm trying to convey here is whether you are using it, your kids at home are using it, or maybe some specific person or in the enterprise they are using it. The purpose is can be any of these. It can be a very deterministic answer we are expecting. It can be very creative or in between as well. Yes or no?
True.
I'm not having a separate LLM. I'm talking about general LLM right now. If you're talking about no, I am using a code llama. I need to do only for code. That is not a generalized foundational model, I'll say, right? That is maybe specific to that task. Whether you are giving a, let's say, DALI 2, it is only creating the images. It can be creative or maybe doing only what you are supposed to do. Similarly, the code llama. So there are extremes in terms of that, but the general LLM point of view, if you can you should be able to use in whatever the way you want, and then it can be adaptive to play these parameters, or as an engineer or as a user you can set it as well, right? So those options are also available. So what kind of options are available? One for temperature, other for top P. When you say temperature, as the name indicates, you are trying to control the sharpness of the token. What does that mean is, I'll make a simple statement. LLMs are good next word predictors. Let it be 1 billion, 100 billion, or 1 trillion. I am oversimplifying saying this statement. LLMs are good at predicting the next words. Do you agree with me?
Yes, in the code.
Exactly, right? We have done the same thing with the traditional NLP or even a little later in the last 10 years of our work, but it is doing it using its transformers. You don't worry about what is happening in the backend, but these are the ones. Maybe you may say, okay, we're talking about next word only, but I'm able to create image. That's the next, maybe your instead of word, it can be generalized to other forms as well. That's not a problem. But the only thing we are talking about there is we do have, yeah, tokens. Anyway, words are the specific terms from a language. In general, I can talk as a tokens because even we do understand the terms. Maybe from OpenAI perspective, 750 English words is roughly equal to 1000 tokens. But maybe in other languages or other type of data, it may slightly vary here and there, but that's just for your information. So we want to control the deterministic versus the diversity of it. So it needs to be deterministic answers or the diversity. That's where the 0 to 1 what you are trying to have. What does that mean? If you want to keep explicitly the lower temperature, that means you don't want to be too creative there. Just give what we are asking. Okay, don't be over smart, right? Sometimes people in the prompts, whether you agree or not, or whether you are doing it, people will use even abusive language also. Don't act over smart, or maybe they will scold it as well because it's a system at the end, right? So if it is not doing its part, they will be trying to make sure you are adhering to what I am instructing. Don't have your own intelligence. Do just what you say or shut up. These kind of common things also people use it. Okay, so in an enterprise level, we need to be a little more professional. So that is anyway obvious. But at the same time, you need to talk in terms of maybe based on the intent. Somebody, I think a few minutes ago, when we are explaining prompt, you talked about the term intent as well, right? So nowadays, there are things LLMs are becoming maybe uh, adaptive, especially not the core LLM, the system surrounding the LLM which is giving these inputs. Based on the user intent, I can also give the temperature and then value and topic. That is also there. But as a user, you can have complete control of it, right? So the lower the temperature, the sharper the distribution of the data and repetitive generations will come. If it is bigger, towards the one, then we are talking about the creative answers, right? That is one parameter. So if I leave it at that point, it is very easy for you. Okay, you have temperature was 0 to 1. I'll take some examples and close it. But the moment I introduce another one top P, the people usually get confused. Okay, what is that and what is this? Just pay attention for a few minutes. It is not that difficult to follow, but specific attention is what we require. Because this is also varying between 0 to 1. That may cause the confusion for us, okay, when we are learning for the first time. But just see, in one case, let me talk first before comparing. Let me come back to the top P. So, in the top P between 0 to 1, what I'm saying is, how many tokens I have where the total likelihood exceeds a particular threshold. Okay, the P. Okay. So redistribute those probabilities. What does that mean? Smaller P leads to repetitive generations. What does that mean is, what is my search space within that to be creative? Just think that direction. In temperature and all, yes, I'm going for the next distribution. I'm trying to play with 0 to 1. But in case of top P, when I say 0 to 1, I can say I can reduce the number of tokens which are available with the P value. Within that, I can make it creative. One possibilities. Otherwise, I am keeping it open all the possible combinations and then make it creative as well. So depending on your situation, some places I may need to have all the possible combinations. This is between 0 to 1. This is also between 0 to 1. High, low, what will happen? The max length is also there as a response to length. Just I will take a pause after explaining these also so that it will be clear for you. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions. Let me explain these points. But before that as well, so if I try to cover again the before giving the examples, temperature scales the probability distribution of the model's output. That means it adjusts how spread out the probability distribution of tokens is. Yet a high temperature flattens the distribution, making less likely tokens more probable, while the low temperature sharpens the distribution, making most likely tokens even more dominant, whether I have this much space or more. So that's what the temperature is trying to do. Whereas the top P, also known as, we call it as something like a sampling. Just think of it as a nucleus sampling. What it does, it select the tokens based on the cumulative probability threshold. I may be using some technical jargon, don't worry on that. I'll simplify it for you. The top P sampling dynamically adjusts the number of tokens considered for generation. Okay, whether the cumulative probability and all, you forget about that, right? So we don't want to make it that complicated. By limiting the token selection pool, top P can help to maintain the coherence and context even when using the higher temperature values. Try to understand both the things. Temperature is yes 0 to 1, it is sharper, and then this is flattened, that is deterministic versus creativity is one part. Within that, whether I want to give the entire space to it or let me limit, okay, between 0 to 1 another parameter, so that I need some creativity but with coherence within the context, so that it lead to more focused and predictable output. While a high top P value will allow for more creativity and explosion. Okay, so those are the things we are talking about. So now just have a look at this example. I will explain it. Yeah, Nimish, I'll take your point. Just let me complete the thought process, then I'll take your inputs. Yeah, if you see these examples, what is happening is the temperature is trying to control a randomness. Top is trying to control the diversity of choices. Okay, so whether it is a precision with that low temperature or high temperature creativity is the one control we have. We have some example of poetry as a high temperature, specific legal writing is low temperature. Similarly, the top P, we want to make that cohesiveness with the flexibility where I want to be creative, want the output to be creative, but within the cohesive range. So if it is a ideation, I am keeping this top P as high. If it is some kind of a summarization, I don't want too much of creativity, MUL is okay. So this is just a summarization of what we are talking about. Then let me give you some examples, then open the forum for further discussion. So if you're talking about low temperature, definitely deterministic is the answer. High temperature, creative. Low top P, only most probable tokens are considered, any focused output you are getting. So the combination of low temperature and top P is the path towards very deterministic answers. Similarly, high top P allows more diverse token choices, increasing creativity. The high temperature, high top P, it is actually the creative world. But the other combinations are also possible. Just like you are seeing, temperature is not like towards the end, but balanced creativity and coherence, you can have this. Very factual deterministic task, we want to keep very low temperature, and depending on the creativity, we need to keep this top P, right? So both I can keep creative writing, brainstorming, all that innovation, I can keep both of them high. So that's the idea, at least to summarize. In top P, you are trying to control the choices of the availability of tokens, whereas temperature, we are trying to control the randomness. So let me take a pause. I'm sure you'll have some questions. Yeah, please go ahead one by one. Yeah, Nimish.
Yeah, Professor, so if we understand this correctly, so temperature is the first boundary to define, and then top P becomes the boundary on top of the temperature. So let's say if we say that we want a certain prompt to be very precise, and we do not want the prompt to be like wide or creative, we would have a low temperature. And then from this prompt, if we want to let it go a little bit more wide on the ideation side, then we can give it a higher top P. And if we want it to be further restricted within our boundaries, then we would go with the lower top P. Am I making sense?
More or less, you are in line with what we are talking, right? So I don't see much of you were just replaying your understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
Okay.
go
Yeah.
to
Thank
the
you.
next one. Win. Yeah.
Well, Professor, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I understand this. So for temperature, so I understand it's like if you randomness, maybe well, top B diversity of choice would be like you give it either 5 or 10 choices, right? And then the higher the top B means the more choices you
Yes.
give it.
Yes.
And then apply temperature in, then it would be, oh, okay, so I give you 5 choices. But in here, I'm gonna define how you pick any of this. Either random, so either if it's strict, then you have to pick the higher number. But if it's if like lower temperature, it would be like you can pick any of these, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how I understand it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Who is next? Rio?
Hi, yes, Prof. Just want to check. I am given the impression that you should not adjust both temperature and top P at the same time. Is that correct? And if
Temperature
so,
top P,
why?
we are controlling at the same time. Yes. So it's both. It's not like one we are setting once and after that, right? So both are the settings in the beginning of our experimentation itself. Yes.
So you determine the setting at the beginning, but if
Yes.
you need to adjust,
We can do that.
it is more appropriate for us to adjust one rather than to adjust both at the same time. Is that correct?
Uh, we can adjust both as well. So it's not like during the running scenario. One scenario you are able to set this temperature and top P. You are able to go give your prompt, LLM answer. You are verifying. You remember this step in the previous one. So one round of it you are setting it right. By the time you reach to the test and feedback, still it is the same. And then when you are going to run again the prompt, you have flexibility to change it. That's how you see. Am I clear?
Yeah, I know that we can change it, but what I mean is in terms of the approach, would
Yes.
it be a better idea if we just change one so that we can
In
understand
okay, you are going at
the
an
impact?
implementation level. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
otherwise, what
because
will
if
happen? It will change, and we won't be able to under. So, it's always better, right? You choose based on your typical expectations, both the parameters in the beginning. Now you are not happy with the answer. Now your suggestion is instead of changing both, I'll do one at a time. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Suver.
Yeah, Prof, basis the diagram you drew on the last slide, which is idea to prompt to result to, feedback loop, etc. What is the relevance of us learning these parameters of temperature and top P vis-a-vis prompt engineering? Because from, the slide that you explained over here, the prompt is usually captured in, let's say, simple English when I want to express my idea to the LLM.
Yes. Yes.
And as a consumer who's, let's say, accessing ChatGPT, I don't
Yes.
have the ability to define how deterministic
Mm.
or how creative I would like the
Yeah.
prompts to be by setting the temperature. There's no filter for me to say 0.3, 0.7. So what is the relevance of us learning these parameters in context to prompt engineering?
Yes. So I don't want you to just become a advanced prompt user only, right? I'm thinking from an enterprise AI setup where even in the OpenAI and ChatGPT also there is like a what you call a studio, OpenAI studio, or they call it as a playground. Sorry. So there is a
That's right.
playground where in the ChatGPT playground you can play with this and then change with these parameters as a regular user as well, right? That is one answer for your question. Second thing is we are expecting when we are building, let's say, 5-page prompt, 2-page prompt, 10-page prompt, that means you are having a whole task in your kitty to achieve some business goal at the end, right? When you are talking at that level,
Right.
you need to see what are all the control you want. I don't want only the ChatGPT advanced user, so that you don't require a prompt engineering. Basic prompt knowledge is good enough, right? So the aim here is for all of you, whether you directly involve or indirectly involved, I am sure it is going to be a basic skill down the line. You need to generate revenue from there.
Right.
So while you are doing it, sometimes you may say that, Sunil, you were saying this point, but the tools are smart enough to choose them. That's okay. But at least you have these parameters. In your machine learning, deep learning also, you heard of your grid search, different parameters to play with. You remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I drew the correlation to our deep learning and to our deep learning
Exactly.
when we learned depth of layers and manipulation of them, etc. But
Yeah.
will you be also showing us the demo on how this is done as well? Like you spoke about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
playground for the
Exactly.
customization,
Yeah,
etc.
playground and all, I will be able to see how much time will we have that we can easily show. And then not tomorrow. Next Sunday, entire session is on prompt engineering. You will be able to play
Got
with
it.
this in the Azure, temperature, Toppy. You will play with that. You will make your hands dirty, and you will get enough confidence to address your problem. We'll do that.
Got it. From the existing LLMs that are publicly accessible to us itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. From Azure, they will take from Azure. And then
Got it.
what I am trying to do, if you are able to complete our wait time on time, so maybe an hour now, right? So yeah, we should be getting some time today. Because anyway, we extended a few minutes every day, right? So I'll be trying to show for the interested people, if not for all. Local installation and all not part of Dr. Vinay's session. It is more of getting into Azure, then making you comfortable there, and then get into that. But I'll give you some instructions, and then I'll show you some demonstrations which you can try, and then I can have a follow-up thing in the upcoming session Saturday as well. On how you can install locally your LLMs. Even whatever I am running the system, it doesn't have even GPU, but the simple ones you can still do, right? But only PEFT level you may not be able to do. Prompt engineering, RAG and all you can do even with your local ones. I'll give you the instructions. I'll show you some demo as well.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, great. So the last one, Jansi Rani. Shall I call you Jansi or Rani
Yes,
or Jansi Rani?
you can call me Jansi. That's perfectly
Jansi?
all right. Yes,
Okay,
that's
please.
perfectly all right. So what
Please.
I would like to understand in the sense, like for example, as you clearly stated, the might be I can interpret in the way like we have a GPS location. Is it like in our GPS tracker? If I am putting AI into this existing GPS tracker with a low what do you call it, like a low temperature, then it will only show me my shortest route, the one which I
Mm.
perfectly comfortable with.
Mhm.
Or if I put a high temperature, then it shows nice weather or maybe more forest area. It goes to all the routes. But
Mm.
if I put this so-called what you mentioned, the top B,
Mhm.
it's like a rag. I don't give in the very beginning itself all the routes. If I put the top B low, in the sense I only give two routes. Out of two, you
Out
choose
of two, you choose.
choose forest. If I didn't give, it will choose everything. Now
Yes.
my question is, for example, I'm just wondering. In my company, we have a chatbot
Okay.
AI, and also we have another. You can say like a customer specific AI also. But in our chatbot AI, how many we will give, it never answers beyond that. It only gives
Mm.
us simple standard. It's just
Answers.
comfortable answers. Just soothe
Yeah.
you. Okay, I'm here. I'll help you. That's all. It never give you the answer, but it speaks like this. So I want to
Mm.
know whether this temperature and Tapi is giving this kind of combination of these two. Will it be a differentiation between these two apps? Like one is chatbot, another one is my customer specific chatbot.
Mhm. Definitely. So, only thing is in case of customer specific, I understand where you are coming from. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we'll be able generic charts. It will try to give a peripheral answers, not specific answers, right? It may not have. So what does that mean is the top P itself don't have the relevant information for it, whereas your customized chatbot and all may give some specific answer because it has more context and then more knowledge of your enterprise. That is understandable. Second thing is in terms of your analogy, yes, that is fine. How much is the overall choices I have? How am I controlling it? Within that, how much of cohesiveness you are bringing on the table, right? So that's what the combination works. So what is the other point you have talked about?
So I want to know that in every chatbot or every LLM model is we prefer this temperature and copy. We can put it separate, then it will give you some different answers. Is it so? Like
Yes.
example.
Mhm.
It's- Okay, thank you, Professor. I will have a check further with my organization. Sorry.
Sure.
Interesting.
So just play with that and then you will be able to get to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even simple hi hello also it tell you it's just different terms. That's what interesting to hear. Anyway,
Agree.
thanks a lot, Professor.
Yeah. Sure. Then what we are talking here on the first one. Now you understand basic prompt engineering and all. If I go a little more details into that, so if I say the sky is dash, right? So the response can be a sky is just blue, or it can say sky is beautiful blue color during the day and all that. The green colors, whatever I'm highlighting, is the response. It can be at the level of sky is blue, it can leave it, or it can be lengthy, or it can be in between that, depending on the combination, right? So there we are talking about what kind of model we are using and what temperature top I just given an example. But what is more interesting for us to see here is it composed of four components mainly: instructions, the context. Let me number those things: instructions, context, input data, and output indicator. What does that mean? If you take an example here, classify the text into neutral, negative, and positive. That's the instruction I'm trying to give as part of the prompt. I have not given any specific context in this case because it looks like it is understandable for an LLM of that infinite knowledge what it has. It should be able to understand this instruction. I don't require to give any specific context. That's the reason they have not given in this example. On top of it, I'm trying to give an input data like this. I think the food was okay. Now, as an output indicator, the sentiment, what will be your answer? Is it neutral, negative, or positive? Based on the information what we have given.
Neutral.
Naturally, right? You will go ahead. Most of you may agree. If you are not applying any of your specific knowledge, just based on the instructions, it is neutral, right? But now, if let me give you some more context here. So maybe most of you might have seen in your service organizations these days, they will have a rating of 0 to 10, but only 9 to 10 maybe of green color. Sometimes some people are extreme, only 10. Even 9 also is not good, right? But maybe to be realistic, 9 and 10 are acceptable in the green color. Then below 8 is all red, right? Maybe a different intensity of red, this is all red only. If you are trying to, because that means you are expecting a 5-star service, maybe the same, the food was okay, but if I am rating the topmost brand in the world or topmost brand in your own country, then they may say that I think the food was okay, maybe taking it as a negative one, right? So the same way, if I give you the context like this, when below 9 is all negative only. So will your answer change now, the sentiment? Within the context what we have provided.
Sir, can you repeat the question, please?
So the same thing, classify the text into neutral, negative, and all the same I have given. Only thing is, in this case, the context was not given. Then everybody agreed there is neutral. Uniformly, everybody accepted, all the 30 plus people. But when I give the more context, saying that, okay, if I have a rating of 9 to 10, then within that only below 8 is also negative for me, and ours is a top brand in the market. If I give something like that context, will your answer change or it will still to the neutral?
Definitely change.
It will change because we are, introducing a bias or we are shifting the median.
Exactly. Then that will become negative, right? So that means in this particular, if I give a context, that means specific to that particular context, I'm trying to give the answer. If it is not, I will go with the uniform, whatever it is being trained with and all that, right? So that's the first point here in the elements of the prompt. Then what we are trying to do here is we need to keep in mind, yes, that we talked about temperature, topic, two important parameters. These, for exact answer, diverse answers we'll play with when prompting your language. What are the other things which we need to understand here beyond the temperature and prompt is, I'll start talking on that in next thing. But before that, I just want to make sure we are designing the prompts for different tasks, right? It can be question answers, it can be summarization, it can be classification, the role playing. By the way, these are very good in the role playing. That means we are trying to give, okay, I am so and so, I am a learner of Gen AI, I am an expert in this particular field. Accordingly, it will try to do a customized answer as well. That means role playing. It can generate code, it can do the reasoning. Some of these are a part of it, right? So when you go into little more details of that while you are designing for different tasks, then why it is important? You remember the idea, prompt, result, and all, and then the components of it also is important for us to instructions. So we need to be clearly calling those instructions very well. Whether you are asking a question answer, whether you are doing a translation, whether you are doing a summarization, accordingly it can answer, right? So when we combine these things, what is happening like this? Some examples I will give, two, three examples, and then I'll be trying to go to the, where are we? The specific design patterns. So when I give a context like this, you can just see antibiotics are type of these medications used to treat some bacterial infections, blah, blah. So there's some medical context. Then explain the above in one sentence. Okay, so or you can very well specify 100 words, right? Or even 50 words, 20 words, whatever you say, it will be able to give it to you, right? So how do you verify whether it is doing a good job or not? Yeah, maybe some initial it can be a manual verification or maybe some golden data set is what we prepare. Similarly, if you see, answer the question based on the context below, keep the answer short and concise. Respond unsure about answer if not sure about it. It is more like telling, tell me no if you don't know. As simple as that. So that all goes under what part of the prompt? In our instruction, context, input, output. So in which part you will put that particular part?
The first paragraph should be instruction.
Instructions, exactly. So that instructions also you want to go a little more details of it also, that's perfectly fine. This is the input I'm giving, this is the output format I want to give, that's perfectly fine, right? So then I'm giving some context. After that I'm asking a question, right? This is what was so OKT3. So if it is there, it will give us the answer, okay, based on this kind of a strict instructions. If you don't give these instructions, it may try to give some answer beyond this also, which we don't want, right? That's the kind of control we want to have. And depend definitely on these answers in the back, what is the temperature, top P values are there. Accordingly also, we will the answer may change. Then next part is the following conversation with AI research assistant. The assistant tone is technical and scientific. You are giving that is a role play as I was talking about it. That's what the role play. Based on that, it knows how much of level of details you want to give. For some of the people who are not very technical thing, then it may give a generalized answer. For the people who are technical and claiming to be technical and all that, they'll give you a little more answers, right? So this is where we have seen already. Similarly, the code generation, I can give something and then ask them to generate an SQL query, or I can ask them to generate a specific information from a language, right? So we can generate that code as well. Then another interesting thing is, if you are talking about, just see this one, odd numbers in this group add up to an even number. What does that mean? It is a mathematical kind of a problem, which we can divide it into the steps. We need to break that problem into steps, saying identify first the odd numbers. Once you add them, once you identify them, then add them. Second instruction. Third one, the result, whether it is a even or odd, worry about that later. This is a three-step process. So sometimes you may need to instruct in a way that it is may not be obvious. By the way, these GPTs and all are not very good at mathematical reasoning at all. So earlier it used to do simple things also very big blunders. Now they are improving, even they are competing with the toughest exams in the world as well as we were talking about. So now it is becoming little more mature, right, in terms of handling these complex scenarios. So after covering this, I'll be taking a pause and then we'll take. We still have some more. Yeah, we'll cover some more point, but I'll take a pause after covering this. What are the examples I was talking so far? We have advanced prompting techniques, we can call it as design patterns as well, to improve the performance on the complex tasks. What does that mean? There are zero shot, one shot, few shot, chain of thought, self consistency, knowledge generation, react. So how many? One, two, three, four, five, around six, seven different approaches, I can say, design patterns. When to use what? Slowly, when you understand those aspects, you'll understand as well, right? So we'll be explaining it in the second half. We'll start with that anyway now itself after taking a small pause. And then after that, the details of chain of thought or some self-consistency or then react and all, we will talk little later after the break. But before that, I'll try to cover at least the first part of zero shot, one shot, few shots. Okay. Yeah. I'm seeing some hands up. Go ahead, Nias.
When we have a mathematical question, is the LLM having a mathematical sub-engine which branches of the task?
Come again. When you have this mathematical kind of a thing, what is your question?
Yeah, so I have trained a normal Flantify kind of a model where when I used to ask what is 1 plus 3, it used to fail miserably. So now, in a natural language sense, trying to find the answer for a mathematical problem, that is this a prime number or what is the next, GCD of 2 or something of that sort. The NLP approach doesn't work. So the professional LLMs, do they recognize there is a mathematical question and carve it off for a mathematical sub-engine?
Yes. So nowadays, I will say the present scheme of things, as I mentioned to you, they're doing well. So otherwise, I'll show you some examples down the line. Earlier, LLMs, the simple questions as you were talking about, right? So those also it used to give surprise with answers, right? But nowadays, most of the general LLMs. Yeah, maybe may have a separate engine, and most probably these are all the reasoning. There are models which are reasoning based and which are general LLMs, right? So for some of the complex scenarios, whatever I'm talking, there is they are addressing the toughest exams in the world and all. They are not regular model. They are the mostly reasoning models with complex. Their time is not a constraint, and let them resonate. There are a tree of thoughts and a little more complex design patterns also they are following.
And a follow-up question, the antibiotics prompt, what we have discussed, we give a context first and then the instruction. Will that be okay?
Yes, that is also okay. No problem on that. In most of the cases, when you are uploading some document, that means you are giving that as a context, right? On top of it, you are giving the instruction. That's okay, perfectly fine, no issue. Because it is taking, that is for our convenience, we are taking about. These are the instructions, these were the context. That's no problem at all.
And if I'm using the LLMs without API, do I get access to top P and temperature?
Where you are running? You may be running locally, if not APIs, or how are you running? You are saying.
No, if I am using a ChatGPT or Claude.
Where you are not having any control, you are just doing like that, right?
Yeah.
If you are using a playground kind of a thing, definitely you will get. But if you are just a user, a charged user, which you don't have control, very unlikely in an enterprise setup. But there you may have restriction. Otherwise, usually at a playground level also you have control.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Simon.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I move on to the slide of chain of thought or something else?
Chain of thought not yet. Chain of thought I have not yet discussed. We will talk on that.
I understand. We are going to visit after the break. And my question is about the overall picture of this. I imagine what Jensen Huang said in March of this year in the GTC said harness plus LLM equals to agent. That is the most simple equation, talking about everyone is building harness to control LLM to make agentic AI. Okay, so my question is, are these actually is defined as one of the harness tools to control LLM?
So how I will see the harness terminology, even I am using these are new buzzwords keep coming every now and then. So I am seeing that harness in a specific way, where I am using it for agent harness specifically. I'm building agents in my day-to-day activity. There we still use the term newly this agent harness. What does that mean for us is how can I make a structure in a reusable manner so that some of the components will be able to make it as standardized and then able to get it into the flow. So in your case also when someone is making that statement, what they mean is we are giving a structure. LLM is a very generic one, right? You can use it for any purpose. When you're talking about the harnessing that for a specific but let's say industry specific set of tasks, then we are trying to make different layers. It's not like only one prompt, right? There needs to be infrastructure layer, there needs to be a prompt or application layer is on the top, infra is in between also, whether it is a in context learning you have, or maybe the vector databases you have, just like I have shown you the stack yesterday. So that all needs to be there to fulfill the requirement. What will really happen there is in terms of what kind of approaches, okay, needs to be taken based on the context, right? Based on the intent, to be precise. Context also will come again, this, right? So when we are trying to mature, so right now we are still in the, let's say, Gen AI world. I have not used much on the agentic thing, but I'm just clarifying your question, saying that, okay, there is Gen AI, which you are understanding from LLM perspective. One, what is the capability of this and all. When you're trying to make it little more generalizable or reusable, then we can go towards the agent. What is agentic thing? In simple words, you are trying to give, you are not defining step-by-step process. You want to define a goal, let it resonate, let it plan for it. General LLM may not be able to do that. You need to have some more information that they are just trying to use the term as maybe we will try to give some instructions in the harness part. So that's how I will read that statement.
So I will suppose there are a bunch of tools inside the LLM embedded, and also another set we call harness outside the LLM. So there are two parallel tracks keep developing to make the AI well even stronger. Thank you very much for your comment.
Yeah. So one more question, Jansi.
Okay, that's somewhat at a clarification. So earlier you mentioned about the context and also the questions you said. So this is also I think it is the very first session. I think first session exactly. The Sridhar Papu, the sir was explaining exactly. So when you give the prompt, you can also give the prompt in like 200 lines of prompt to give all the context, and finally you can give the question something like this. A bigger detail. Even the question also bigger. Now back to the topic which we are discussing about the token expiring and all this thing. Earlier also I asked the question like I said also very clearly. Prompt we can give the detail, then only we can get the expected desired result. So how can we say is that can we improve this context? Or maybe we can say reduce the context, add more questions, or maybe how balance this both at the end. I want to get the desired results. Is it? Yeah.
Sure. I'll try to answer, but not immediately, because we are still in the step and understanding this.
Okay,
but I'll definitely cover those.
Sure. We will. This is the same thing. This slide, I remember this 0 sort, 1 sort also he was explaining, but this was didn't answer. But now I want to get it clarified with you.
Sure.
Even after the session also would be nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Problem. We'll clarify. Yeah. Last question, Bharat.
As professor, just that I'm trying to differentiate between the playground and the Gen AI applications. Is it like a specific? Is it like the playground? Is it something like And a Gen AI for a specific purpose or just customized for
Playground is more for you to practice. You see like that. Have you worked on TensorFlow Playground for deep learning?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to that only. Different people, whether it's OpenAI or other people, they are trying to give you just like the name indicate, playground. Even in fact, in our organization also, we used to have a playground, right? So why
Even
before the people try in the real thing, let them try with the playground environment so that they don't require the installation locally and all, but they want to make their hands dirty. That is very much possible.
even our company, they
Yes,
introduced lately the playground to use for our
exactly. To get the
yeah.
confidence and to try it and all that. Even I encouraged in my previous organizations as well to have a playground for the people to try, and then that will be giving you the confidence. And then some places you need to have for the practice for the hackathons or maybe small problems, right? So then once you are able to the regular one, then you use the same experience to build the regular systems.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So then, once we are able to get this, maybe another 5 minutes or so, we'll speak, and then I'll take a pause after that. So then slowly we go into, yeah, before we go into all this zero shot, one shot, and all that, I just want to give you one perspective. I use the term already in context learning, right? So the just in the beginning, when you say RAG, prompt engineering, and all that, there is one view I want to give both from zero shot, one shot, and all is whether it is 175 billion parameter, 13 billion, 1.3. This is like a small, very small in the sense of LLM. It is a good, decent number. So it may go to 1 trillion and all down the line. But the point you want to see here is when you have a natural language prompt, with the zero shot, one shot kind of a thing, you need to give a lot of the prompt information. Maybe Jansi, for your example as well, if you are following some of the few short examples, can you see without much of the prompt details, you are able to get the better performance as well, right? So that means what in a zero, what do you mean by zero shot, one shot, few shot? We'll explain to you now itself. As the name indicates, I'm not giving any example, just instruction. I'm giving one example, I'm giving multiple example, as simple as that. What this diagram is trying to show is number of examples in context. If you give little more examples, what does that mean? That's a trade-off again. Again, anyway, you are giving a lot of tokens for the examples, but every time when you are giving it into the prompts, you are reducing the overall thing, right? So that's the trade-off you need to think. First, we want to make sure enough examples are given. Examples mean some people are tempted to give 100 examples. Do we really need to give that much? No. Only the main ones. If you see here, I'm giving an example. Translate English to French. I'm not giving any just a task instruction or a description. Then the prompt I'm just giving as an input and then I'm getting an answer, let's say. Otherwise, I'm giving one example so that it is making sure that it is not hallucinating, it is not trying to give me lengthy answers, which is typically LLM is tend to. Then I want to give an example just to make sure in a few short, not like hundreds of examples, but maybe two, three examples I'll give different. Some may be simple, straightforward, some may be tricky. Like that, two, three, if I give, I am very confident that in that particular scenario, the answer what I'm getting is going to be not hallucinated and maybe more acceptable and more robust. That's kind of a thing, right? So how do you balance these in terms of one shot, few shot? It depends on your, let's say if you have 10 examples to go, hardly you are asking one, two prompts. That may not be really a good balance, right? So that's the balance we need to strike it off. And then the last one before we go into a short break is the traditional fine tuning. If I just compare here, somewhere I might have used some statement like this: no gradient updates, no gradient updates. What does that mean? In any of these few shot, one shot, zero shot also, I'm not touching the weights. Only in case of fine tuning, that too, in case of a regular fine tuning, we are talking about this, but this is not applicable for any of the LLMs. I want to clarify because you already have good knowledge of deep learning. The moment I'm giving examples and all, I am not doing a gradient update at all, right? I am not touching the gradients, even in the PEFT or even in the fine tuning of any of these techniques. Traditional way of doing this, people may do it, but not in this kind of LLMs. That's the point we want to clarify. So any questions before we go for a short break? Then once we are coming back from the break, we will cover few short examples, chain of thought, React, some of these design patterns we'll talk, and then come back with some local setup and some of those details as well. Before we break, I got the confirmation from Akshat, your program office, that you already got the mail. Can you please check the mail assignments?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, just have a look, and then maybe during the break and all, I'll take at least 10, 12 minutes for the break, finish the dinner and come back.
Professor.
So, any questions meanwhile, please go ahead.
No, this is Leon. I was confirming that we've received the email.
Yeah, perfect. Just have a look, and then we will, towards the end of the session, I'll be able to answer your questions, if any. Yeah, Vin, you have any questions?
Yes, Professor, I think I get like 80 or 90% of the traditional fine tuning, not used for GPT, but I wonder if I get it right. So the reason why it's not used for this is because we don't touch the foundation models, right? We are on like the surface of prompt engineering. So I didn't understand really why you said that we're not talking about this and this is not
So,
applicable.
not applicable. Why I'm saying that is just to, because you have the lot of good understanding of deep learning. I just want to clarify, we are not touching the weights. That's the only reason to put.
Oh, got
Okay,
it.
because people may need to think, even after telling all that, oh, okay, am I updating the model? So in prompt or RAG, I'm not touching the model at all. All the things what we are doing is at a surface level only, without touching the model. That's the
Yes.
clarification I want to give.
Yes. And what does it mean by not used for GPT-3?
Not used for GPT-3 means I'm just giving an example, previously the GPT-3 and all these examples. So I'm just a continuation to that. So any LLM here also I'm just giving as an example GPT. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, any LLM, you can say it is not used, this kind of traditional fine tuning we are not using for any LLM. We are not updating the weights for on a regular basis with LLM because of the complexity in terms of number of tokens, number of parameters.
Yes. And you mean like not used for GPT, you mean like on top of LLMs, right?
Yes, I mean, this is also an LLM. GPT-3 is also an LLM. So I better word, because I took this screenshot from GPT-3, it might have given, or I can tell that it is not used for any LLM. That is perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So then, yeah, once we are back from this, I'll try to cover this few short chain of thought, some of these examples, and then we will have enough time for the demos and your questions and all. Okay, just have some break, and then maybe if you have time, please go through the document assignment thing. I'll come back in, let's say, 10, 12 minutes. I'm just starting the clock here for the break. Are we back? Shall we start?
Yes.
I'm just seeing the chart. Sam, you are able to put it in the chart, right? You are not able to. This is the one I am trying to put on your behalf, Sam, but you are not able
Thank you.
to put
Yeah.
the chart. Is it? Why everybody should be able to put it into the chart? Oh, there is. That's the reason I am seeing no messages here now. Is it? It is not enabled for you. I am
Yeah.
getting individual messages.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Okay, but do I, being a host, can I enable anything?
Yeah, you can enable browser. Right now it
So
is
where is that?
disabled.
So where should I go there and enable? I'm not sure. I'm sharing.
You are a host, right?
Yeah, I'm a host. I claimed that as a host.
You should be
So
getting
what
an
I
option
need?
in the menu in the
More.
bottom.
Okay. Host tools for participants. Clear the feedback. Ask all to unmute. Okay. Mute all upon my entry. That's okay. Play, join, and leave sound. Okay. No. Any other settings I need to go? Breakout rooms, polls. The chart. Remote control, show meeting, annotate layout. The chart itself, let me see the chart. Chart settings I'm going. Show chart previews, that much only I have. If you are aware of where the specific settings, I can do, but otherwise I
I
am not able to
will
see.
ask the LLM to.
Yeah, the control. What is the chart thing, right? Controls. Yeah, we can see where the settings are. Being a host, how do I set? Even I can do that parallelly. But yeah, any specific questions before we jump into our design patterns for now? The assignment questions I'll take after this. So because we almost have an hour or so, right? Roughly, we may extend by a few minutes for the optional topic, but otherwise in an hour we'll conclude the regular session. On top of it, we may have something optional as well.
So you have to click on more in the meeting controls.
Yes.
And select chat. And in the chat panel, more menu.
I don't have that option here. Transcript, the chat I'm not able to see the more.
Okay.
So maybe it is or you are sharing this. Okay. Chart settings also have separately. So tell me within the chart settings, what are there? No, I don't have that. Only. Yeah, this is the first time it is happening. I don't think earlier it has. Maybe they have any other controls which I'm not aware of. I'm not sure, but
if anybody from Upgrade is there, they can enable it. Usually they do that.
They do that, right? But at least I'm not seeing anyone here. So let's continue. But individual, you can I can see individual charts, and then or alternate, I can do a postman job if required. No issues. Continue using that. Okay, so at least in the interest of time, let's proceed. If you have anybody has the solution, because in the more I'm not able to see any chart settings separately to enable. Okay, so here what I'm talking about the few short prompts. What we done so far in the last 1.5 hour is roughly on general terminology of foundational model, prompt engineering. Then comes the RAG, RLH fine tuning, parameter efficient fine tuning. These are the terms we briefly introduced. We'll go into the details. On top of it, we went into the prompt engineering. On top of it, we talked about the prompt elements, especially instructions, context, inputs, and then output format. Then we talked about we start with an idea, then comes this prompt, and then get a result, and then go into a loop to get the right set of validation. Then within that, we introduced these terminology of zero shot, one shot, few shot, what we covered so far. Then few shot, I'll just continue further, and then other things like chain of thought, React, self-consistency, we'll talk for next 15-20 minutes. So these are the things which are helping us as the design patterns or approaches for us, which can help you to further discuss in terms of sometimes it may be a combination. It's not like either or, right? So sometimes it is completely different pattern. You may think of either or, but some combinations can work even along with few short plus chain of thought. Those things can be fine. But maybe chain of thought is one, tree of thought may be different. Then React may be different. So we will be able to see each of them. So now as a continuation to where we are, I want to see some few short prompting allows us to provide the examples in the prompts to steer the model towards the better performance. What does that mean? The same odd numbers in this group add up to this. I can go in a chain of thought approach where I can give them instructions in terms of, okay, first you identify this as odd numbers. Once you shortlist the odd numbers, then you add it. Then the result point of it, you see whether it is an even or odd, right? That is one way to look at the same problem. That means you are giving kind of an algorithm or a step-by-step process. Otherwise, you are giving some instructions, odd number in this is a 4, group add up to this even number, then what is a true or false, like that. Okay. So you are giving such examples, and then it is LLM to interpret or understand the problem statement, and then able to continue further. That green is the final answer, what we are talking about, right? The answer is true. What does that mean is, you can give examples, and sometimes you may think of why it is either or. That's what I was talking about. It can be a combination of that. Before that combination, let me think through or walk you through in terms of what is chain of thought. As the name indicates, it is like a step-by-step process. There is an extension of it, tree of thought, but I have not included explicitly. Once you compare the level 1 of these design patterns, if you still have more time and energy, I'll be able to go a little more deeper into the other things as well. I have a lot of further content, even a little more advanced than this as well, right? So, but we won't be able to cover within the slot. So that's why I'm able to cover this. If you are interested, I can give it as an appendix for those people after giving the gist of it. But that may be after our scheduled time. This one, the chain of thought prompting is, it can be further invoked by instructing the model to reason about the task when responding. So what does that mean? In the zero shot, one shot and all, there's not like a reasoning approach is there. So reasoning approach is really starting from chain of thought. So why it is useful, especially the things which you need to, it's not just asking, okay, what is a deterministic answer kind of a thing, right? It's not just asking what is the capital of Australia, just give that answer. That doesn't require any reasoning, just getting the facts and then displaying it. But some of these things of mathematics or some kind of a logical approach to answer, we require some kind of a reasoning. Then you combine with few shot or not is another option. That means what, just tell the steps and then leave it. But a very good combination is, that's what I was showing here. A zero shot chain of thought is very common, but a few shot combining with chain of thought is a wonderful model where you are giving some kind of reasoning approach. On top of it, you are trying to give some examples so that you are trying to reduce overall the hallucination scope itself, right? So even after that it is hallucinating, then how do you reduce? We will see it, but you are trying to be very, let's say, confident about the answer when you follow this step by step along with the examples. That's what you can see here. You are telling them in a step-by-step process, adding these numbers is giving this, then 25 is a odd number, but that's why it is false. That kind of explanation with some examples when you are giving, then definitely in the same way, even when you are generating the code as well, right? So just as an example, in Google Colab, when I integrate with Gemini, if I want to just run an example of a prompting, I can tell, okay, just give me some examples and explain step by step. If I talk like that or using chain of thought, it is going to give us the step by step process. One by one, you are able to run that. right? So that's another example I can try to give you. Similarly, if you go into the next level, self-consistency, then general knowledge prompting, then the React. These are the three things we will be trying to cover before I take up your questions. So as of now, we covered zero shot, one shot, few shot. Few shot is a good combination with chain of thought, right? So now when you go into each of them, maybe I'll take a pause, not towards the end, but maybe after this one. So just see incrementally how are we proceeding. As the name indicates, the self-consistency, the aim is to improve the name greedy decoding used in. So what is that greedy approach is? So the common terms in the computer science we use greedy approach, divide and conquer approach, right? So any of those terms, you people, game theory, have you heard those approaches anytime? If not all, at least some of you. Greedy, divide and conquer, game theory approach. These are all of algorithm patterns
Yes.
actually, right?
Yes,
Some of
sir.
you coming from computer science, you may be, but others they may say, "Oh no, we don't know," but that's okay. Let me tell you the greedy thing. So with an example, so that it will be easy for you why that greedy thing is coming. So with a knapsack problem, I can take that example where let's say there is a thief who entered a particular place. He has a bag of limited size to take the items, right? Naturally, how he optimizes, he'll be greedy in terms of maybe he likes so many things, including this, let's say, a big woofer in the system, Hooper system, or maybe the TV and all. But naturally, just think of it from his lens, he won't be able to maybe fit it, right? Unless he comes with a big truck. So within the small bag of what he want to carry, maybe the more valuable items with the less size, that will be his natural first choice, right? Being a professional guy in that field. That's how the greedy approach says step by step. Okay, he let him identify the best ones with less volume but high value, right? So those he starts filling till the bag gets filled, right? So that's the simple greedy approach example on the greedy approach. So the similar one they will talk about in the chain of thought, where the idea is in this one self-consistency, if you see, which is different from slightly other chain of thought, which we will describe to you, to sample multiple diverse reasoning paths through few short chain of thought and use the generations to select the most consistent answer. What does that mean? As the name indicates, self-consistency. In case of chain of thought, we don't have too many paths, but now some reasoning paths I want to encourage here from the self-consistency and choose most reliable or maybe most stable kind of an answer. So this helps to boost the performance of chain of thought prompting on tasks involving arithmetic and common sense reasoning. As of now also, just like humans have very common sensic reasoning, I don't think LLM still reached there, right? But it has good reasoning capabilities as we speak now. In the last 3-4 years, it is able to evolve, but not at a common sense reasoning level. So just to give you here, when I was 6, my sister was half of my age. Now I am 70. How old is my sister? Maybe just like as a human also, we may also think, okay, half, and then that 70 to that. But that is very foolish too, if you look into, right? But LLMs, if you take this source, many of such powerful LLMs generated this answer. Now we will laugh at that. Oh, is it like that? But now it improved. I'm not saying now if you type the same answer, you will not get 35. But earlier versions, maybe an year or two ago, we have such kind of tricky things when you talk about. It's not like very tricky also, right? Just a logical reasoning thing. It is not very good at reasoning, the basic models. That's where the separate models are being built. That's the understanding we need to have. Then if I give you some more examples of that, then you will understand so the self-consistency is just like as an extension of chain of thought, you have multiple outputs. You can see the difference while you are seeing. So you are giving a reasoning examples, answers. So if you see here, there are 15 trees in the grove. Grove workers will plant trees in the grove today. After they are done, they are 21. So how many trees are? It looks like very trivial question for a school kid as well for us, right? But from an LLM perspective, you it may give an answer directly. I'm not saying it is not capable of, but is to be consistent. It is always good to have. This is a few short examples we are giving with the approach of chain of thought. Now then I'm getting based on these, it is trying to give when I was 6, my sister is off of my, so I was at 3, now I'm at 70 and giving it as minus. This is one chain of thought thing, okay? Or when the narrator is at 6 and the sister is off of age, this is another way. When narrator is at 6, his sister is at off of age, and then it is. So this is not like too many diversified, but the approach was slightly different, right? So we can select one output and then, okay, that's where on what basis, if you see, on more consistent kind of an answer. And then if you give that as, okay, this is how the consistency is there, then that can help them to follow that self-consistency kind of a pattern. So before I go to the last two parts, are we good so far? Is it going into your head or above your head? It's not that complex, but just to see a checkpoint. So are we able to follow? Yeah, Subir?
Prof, can I,
Yeah.
for the ones that we've covered so far, being,
Yeah.
I think, largely few short and then chain of thought and then self-consistency, can I request you to possibly give us some more business-specific examples in, what situation or scenario we would use these? Because these examples are explaining the logic and the flow, but
Yeah.
not explaining the application to us, if you know
Yes,
where I'm coming from.
we'll do that. We will do
Okay.
that even once I cover each of them. Right now, let's now let me cover right now also.
Got it. Thanks.
So for the ones which you are seeing the chain of thought, till chain of thought, right? The one good combination I already told you, the till now what you are talking so far, if you want me to pick which is more practically useful, is a few shot with a combination of chain of thought. Okay, so where we will be using that within the prompt, I have already talked about. We need to give specific instructions, and then you are trying to give the context, right? Within those instructions, if you are just, I will give you one example of in practice where we are using prompts. It's more like you are trying to extract some fields. Okay, so I'm not giving too much of context of where and all that, but just this should be good enough at an abstract level. If there is a page which we are trying to extract some of the fields, that means what we need to give clearly the instructions in terms of a simple form. Okay, let's say you are trying to extract the fields from a registration of your medical, what you call, let's say you went to a hospital, there is a medical registration form, and then that form maybe have just one page, right? So you are trying to extract the fields. Maybe there's a name, number, email address, and all. But for each of them, there is a structure. Let's say, for instance, email ID, it always have some name, dot, something, at the rate, something, right? So, but it's not like very prescriptive. You need to have, everybody needs to have a dot b at the rate something, but maybe it is ab or a at the rate, whatever the dot com or dot net, right? Similarly, you do have validations which you want to do from these systems. That's a slightly different and complex. But when you are talking about this extraction of this particular field from a form, which is of your registration form, you want to make sure if you give these examples, what will happen? Let's say you can tell the instructions, okay, the email formats of are like this. If you give an examples, will it be useful from your thinking? Yes. What will happen there is, yes, it understands that field can be any text, but usually you may have some checks and balances, maybe at the rate something needs to be there and all. So whether it is something a dot b at the rate this or some, you are giving some example. These are all the possible examples for the valid field. Otherwise, you can raise the let's say that field is not entered properly or maybe not extracted properly. So whatever the way you want to look into. Similarly, in terms of the chain of thought examples, right? So there is a flow. What you are really talking about in that, it's not like a common sensic reasoning, But you do have situations where you need to take this step-by-step process to compute this particular, let's say you are using the same thing in a finance thing. You want to do a tax computation. You are giving the people, this is what the data it is. So that means what you are trying to see that tax computation perspective, whether it's a new regime, old regime, or in your own country, you may have different rules. So there you need to have some kind of a steps to follow, right? It's not like straightforward answer. Okay, if I ask you, if I just give you, okay, somebody is getting 100K, what is the tax? It's not that simple, right? You need to go into a little more reasoning, different path you need to follow. Chain of thought is what you have started doing it. Sometimes you may need to go a little more beyond that as well if you have multiple paths. But these are the practical examples which I can talk at this stage, and then I'll try to give few more once I cover the last two as well. But is it making sense to answer your point?
Yes, making sense. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, we will add a few more examples. And that too, when you are trying to do your lab exercise as well, so you are trying to do more practical thing, that also give you a few more instances of how you are using these. They may not be able to cover all the design pattern, let me upfront tell you, but these are the things which we want to understand conceptually. Some of them you'll be able to run within the session, depends on how fast you will be able to. They may give you some more exercise to practice. Overall, net, you should be able to get the confidence to use them. Yeah, Vin, go ahead.
Yes, Professor. For the self-consistency, from what I understand is the LLM is defaulted to use greedy decoding. But if you wanted to do self-consistency, then you should state it in the prompt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just use the word like use self-consistency to solve this math. Then it
Yes.
will
So we
understand.
can tell that, yeah, little more in terms of sometimes explicitly when you not tell, I'm giving few examples and all that. Let's say few short, I don't require to tell explicitly I'm using few because we are giving example, it understands, and you are explaining something, it understands, right? So, but if you want to give some more explicitly as well, that's perfectly fine, right? So this is the kind of approach we are talking about. That will be more readable and then more maintainable. So that way also it is fine.
Yeah.
And there also, if you know, we can give as a comments within the prompt, .md file kind of a thing, right? So there also you can have some comments and then so that it is maintainable later on.
Thank you. Professor, so I understand one shot, few shot, and then chain of thought are all of those methods. But does all of the do all of those methods? I mean, are all of those methods called self-consistency? So all of those are called self-consistency, right?
I didn't get it. Can you please repeat?
No, what I mean is the definition for self-consistency. I think I missed the definition for it. Like I understand self-consistency is so that it wouldn't be greedy in the
It is
coding.
trying to improve the typical greedy nature of it. That means what? It is going in one direction with the greedy. The example what I given in the knapsack problem. This one it is trying to get a few more, let's say, reasoning paths. So the best greedy approach may be the one which is the path taken by the chain of thought. Here I want to be taking the other paths as well, and then which is more giving as a consistent answer. I'm trying to get it. That may not be the default path from a chain of thought, but maybe one of the paths. So that's the difference I'm talking about.
So it's like a technique inside the chain of thought. Or I mean,
Yes,
like
it's
you
an
can put
extension of chain of thought. I can say
extension.
extension of chain of thought, and the further extension is tree of thought. So where you will have multiple paths, and then you need to choose one of them.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you're extending the same thought process with two more design patterns before we go into the next level, right? So one is generate knowledge prompting. What does that mean is this technique involves using additional knowledge provided as part of the context to improve results on the complex task. What does that mean? Maybe I'm not able to get as of now also common sense reasoning, but some kind of an external knowledge will help us to even the React also will be in that line. So I'll tell you what is the difference. First you understand this. The knowledge used in the context is generated by a model and used in the prompt to make a prediction. What does that mean? With examples, when you see, it may make sense. So if you see here, there is a question you are asking. and then you need to get an answer. But before that, if you have the base, this is the one we are talking about. Okay. By giving some instructions, demonstrations, and all that, you are trying to generate the knowledge. That knowledge is being fed it into the knowledge generation, and then that is helping us to create that answer. What does that mean? The knowledge used in the context is generated by a model and is used in the prompts to get to make a prediction. What does that mean here? If you see an example and come back, I have 2-3 examples. You can see here, and then whatever is the high confidence score. If you see here, high confidence prediction is being used. This is important. Okay, so what we are doing there, if you see, the first step to generate knowledge below is an example of how to generate knowledge samples. So I am giving some input, I am giving some knowledge, some like a few shot kind of a thing, and I am asking them explicitly to generate the knowledge first. The objective of golf is this. Golf is a precision club and ball sport. So like that, it is giving some knowledge. Where from it is creating? It is creating from the previous few short examples. Once you have the knowledge, what we are talking about, the knowledge samples are then used to generate the knowledge augmented questions to get the answer proposals. That means what part you are trying to get some question, and the knowledge of the golf is it is trying to give the answer with some explanation. Then we are trying to validate whether it is really doing a good job or not. Why we need to do all this exercise? One is to give us an opportunity to validate the answers before we publish the result, because unless you do all this kind of exercise, we will not get the robustness of the or confidence. Let me use the right set of words. So confidence on the LLM that it is working like this, right? So, and there is a human in the loop naturally, just like in agentic AI here also. We do have, if you see here, the path. If I'm just repeating the same thing here, which may be the picture, if you are able to follow, that's good enough. Or if you want to see here, I am giving some knowledge first, input knowledge and all. Based on that, I'm trying to generate the knowledge samples. Yes, I do have samples now. Using those samples, which we are used to generate the knowledge augmented questions, right? So they are kind of part of goal of trying to get the highest point total than others. Is it yes or no? So you are trying to get an answer with some explanation. Whether that is the right set of explanation or not, you are trying to validate. Okay. So that's where the highest so you may say, who will tell me this highest confidence? Maybe initially some kind of a human expert, but down the line, you can have another LLM also to judge for that. It may be powerful than that, or maybe trained specifically on that. So that is also important for us to get it into either AI or a human judgment at this stage. So that's the kind of, as the name indicates, generate knowledge prompting. In summary, if you see, I have a prompt, we have some instructions and questions and generating this knowledge. Okay, that generation of the knowledge will be input here. That if you are asking any specific question, that knowledge integration will give you the answer there. That is another one. So when you need to use it from your enterprise AI setup, you need to have, especially when you talk about these are not straightforward questions. Everything may not be, but at least for the next level. Then whenever there is an external knowledge required where it can help them to add some value from reasoning, that's where these things are coming. Okay. The same thing I will extend in a little detailed way with a React. Okay, first let me show you the prompt here, then we will come back. So the name of React is nothing but reasoning plus act. Okay, so if I give a prompt, you are going to the React. There is an LLM knowledge, but you know this LLM is being trained maybe 1 month ago or 2 months ago, whenever the version is there. Let's say average of 2 months. It is not like every day you are changing as well, right? So if you are talking about the 2 months ago, when you have the LLM, still you are sometimes you will ask something which is live in the system. So okay, some question. Then it is going to the whether it is a information on this particular sport or whether it is information on particular let's say weather, right? Any of those, that public or external knowledge will be the another source without which it will not be complete. Then the combination of that knowledge is what it is coming to the LLM to answer it. Getting that? So the name, reasoning, and act, the public information is involved, and even the LLM. Even if you see the previously also we have something like this external information only in the fourth one. But there the concept is you want to generate that knowledge and fed into that, and then that is going to act. Whereas here, if you see, we are trying to get the public information, external information, and the LLM, and finally the combined answer we are pushing it to there. What does that mean here for us is, I'll give you an example. But before that, it's a kind of a framework where LLMs are used to generate both reasoning traces and task-specific actions. We need to have React, as the name indicates, task-related one, and it is doing some kind of a reasoning traces as well. Generating reasoning traces allow the model to track, update action plans, all that, whereas action step allows to interface. And if you see information from gathering from other sources, people may call that in our agentic world tool calling. Okay, function calling, tool calling. Okay, so these kind of React is not limited only to this one. It can add value from this. Even when you just follow the Azure or other local setup, it will be easy for you to connect some of these to the agentic AI as well. Okay, so I'll show you an example that will clarify. Okay, it's not that trivial as we understand. It has a lot of value inside. Okay, so just to summarize this, React allows the LLMs to interact with external tools to retrieve additional information that leads to more reliable and factual responses. If you see, okay, there is an external sources which the action step is taken care of. Generate reasoning traces is allow the model to induce and track. So if I take an example that may complete even if you have any questions. So example may run here at one page. Yeah. So just have a look in that particular question for the Apple fans. The question is, what other device can control the program Apple remote was originally designed to interact with? Okay, looks like it's not very complex question, right? But it is not readily available in FAQs or in that. Otherwise, it could have given directly. Not require both reasoning this and all, but it's not that straightforward. Then whatever they are trying to give some kind of standard answer, whatever comes to not like a well thought through answer, but okay, something from Apple, okay, iPad, iPod they can give, but that is not the answer. Similarly, the thought is more of go step by step, right? It's not like multiple paths, take a stop and then get external. That is not there as part of chain of thought, right? So it goes to think within the limitation. Apple remote was originally designed to interact. Apple TV can be controlled by so and so iPad. So the answer is iPhone, iPad, all that it is giving because it has read somewhere that particular information. Then act only. So what we are trying to establish here is the reason plus act. Reason means it is going to some kind of information, trying to fetch and then trying to answer that. Whereas act only means, yes, I am trying to go in an act, observe. If you see one step we are trying to do and then get some kind of an observation, but it is not leading to any action at the end. Okay. So that's the reason we need to have a systematic process confirming that a combination of reasoning plus act, that's where the react, right? That means what? You are giving a thought, I need to search in this local remote, and then act is taken care and observation is done. Then again, act was another thought was seeded into. Then again, an act and observations. Like that, we are able to give them a reasoning aspect and then external knowledge, whatever is missing here, we are able to add as well. Okay. So that gives in the after multiple thoughts here. So naturally it is come to a situation, keyboard function keys are the ones which are not explicitly highlighted, but these things will come into picture. Right? So this is where we are right now in terms of, I have not introduced the PEFT yet, and then the demo yet, right? Those are the two aspects beyond your assignment thing. We still have roughly around half an hour. Yeah, even close to, right? Or even a little more. So if I take a pause and then summarize so far, we talked about different design patterns and when to use what is what. I will give summary before I open for questions. So zero shot, one shot, few shot when you don't require any of the reasoning aspects and the things are straightforward. Just to make sure you are getting the right set of answers, you may give one shot or maybe two, three diversified answers to get the right set of answers. Why that is important as well, once it get into a different mode, it is not easy for us to pull it back again, that LLM in that direction. Better to give those instructions in the beginning, and then it will unnecessarily add a lot of work for us if you are able to restrict too much as well, right? So that's the reason we are talking about these zero shot, one shot, few shot. Then whenever the reasoning things are coming, the last four, chain of thought, self-consistency, generate knowledge, and then react. Within that also, few shot with a combination of chain of thought is what is the standard one, what I have mentioned. Self-consistency to definitely for a specific reasoning thing, not very generic. When it comes to the generate knowledge and versus React, I'll say React is a little more useful, especially from Gen AI and even Agentic AI, where you have specific knowledge. Sometimes only that knowledge is not enough. You are trying to go and poke something, some external thing as well, and then trying to play with that. Okay, so that's where this React, what needs to in your mind is this public external information and LLM. And then the generate knowledge is more like, okay, you are able to go in a complex scenarios where how things are working in this particular case. Then specific knowledge, what you are trying to have in the knowledge to one, knowledge to all that, right? So once you create this and you are trying to use this for the generate knowledge prompting, as the name indicates. So let me take a pause. Is it making sense what you are talking about? And then let me give one example, just like you asked earlier, right? So where do we use, let's say, the React kind of a things, right? So whenever in the enterprise setup, if you are very specific to
Rob,
the
can I
yeah,
request you to have the
yeah,
Apple example open while you speak?
yeah, I can do that. You can
Thanks,
keep
appreciate
it.
it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what I'm talking about here is from the React example. If you feel I don't require any external information within that answer point of it, don't worry about the React, right? But there are examples in a limited way, right? Where it needs to get the latest information where LLM is not ready to have. It's not like a proprietary information at all. It can be as simple as some kind of a whether tool calling or some kind of a function calling, which can help the information within the enterprise to make some decisions. In those situations, we people are using this React kind of pattern. And then I have already talked about the chain of thought and few shots. Yeah, let me take a pause and then see if you have any specific questions.
Professor, what are the basis and what are the important factors that we need to keep in mind when we are deciding that, okay, I'm going to utilize the React kind of prompting? Because every day we counter a different kind of situations and the challenges and the problem statements, but deciding that, okay, I'm to just till now, and it's completely, real that till now the problem that I was doing, it was like short, uh, few short of prompting till now. But now I'm thinking to utilize the React kind of that as well.
Exactly, exactly.
So in that case, what are the factors that I should consider that, okay, I should with this and I'll definitely get an answer? Because I can see the question here as an example, it actually find out the exact answer. He
Yeah.
gave us a support an external environment
Yes.
and turned its attention further informations as well.
Yes. So what I'll give you the tips as an extension to what I talked so far, right? So let me take two different scenarios in enterprise. One, some kind of IT support system tickets and all that. Maybe I'm trying to chat or maybe raise a ticket saying, let's say my application or VPN is not really working. I keep getting some kind of application not found or server not found kind of an error. Okay. So when you talk this kind of a thing, just think of it. I'm just giving, instead of all seven, I'm giving either few short or chain of thought or maybe React. These are the available options, right? I'm not saying what is the best one to choose it, whether that will work or not, but at least some places, if you see, if I have this kind of scenario like this, first you will, whether you qualify, some reasoning is really required here or not, or some kind of a thought process, or it is fixed just like your translation of English to French. Is it that simple, or you require some reasoning for the example I talked about?
Yeah, reasoning will definitely be there.
Required, right? So that gives some clarity in terms. If it is straightforward, this and all, you think of zero shot, one shot, few shot. Otherwise, now you are giving into the next gamut of patterns where the chain of thought or maybe self-consistency or the React. So these are the things which you are coming. So now, in that case, I will recommend you, yes, there is some kind of a chain of thought. This is what the reasoning path which can help you. The same example, if I take, not the same, but the similar one, if I take a different one from a same enterprise setup, maybe I'm trying to do some kind of optimal stock routing during some, let's say, supplier delays. Now, let's say take a realistic one. The LLM might have taken some data maybe a month or 2 months ago. Now, every day, what's happening with this Iran versus US, what's happening this for Hamas, that no LLM can tell directly, right? You need some external knowledge. What is the impact of the supply chain? I don't have a clarity on that. It may be an internal information what you are trying to solve it, but it has some dependency on the external one, especially the supply chain kind of. So now you may be asking simply, why are these project delays, right? That is the kind of within the enterprise scope you are talking, where you are talking about that person is responsible and you are able to get this answer and all that. But by the time when you go to this React kind of mode for this kind of complex queries, we are trying to understand two things. One, the specific reasoning paths, what is possible for this kind of a scenarios to identify the project delays and corrective actions. And second, how much of this external knowledge will help them to act as well, right? So those are the things, because these are different permutations, combinations, different thoughts, which comes to the thing that should be able to decide well on how I will be able to take it forward, right? So that's the kind of scenario I am talking about in practice. Okay, so does it make sense? Three scenarios, one simple translation example versus the translation also in the support tickets. We need to translate some of these. That is also real world example. Similarly, we talked about IT service ticket kind of a resolution with reasoning, act like chain of thought, and the one with the supply chain and all, only reasoning may not be enough. You need to go into a React kind. That's the kind of a progressive examples I can give.
Perfect, Professor. And I got your point. So basically, the last one where you said few of the things which LLM is not supposed to give you a correct
Yes.
answer, because social and economic situations is something which is very dynamic and it can change at every second as well.
Exactly.
So in that
Exactly.
case, giving it the proper reasoning that okay, we had a situation in the past where certain action was taken by some other government. For example, the federal bank's taken a different actions, and at the same time, my product got impacted without of because of their actions, and this action wasn't documented in the past anywhere. Now that kind of reasoning to my prompt will definitely help my product to get better in shape.
Yes. Exactly. So, Vin, you have any question?
Yes, Professor, I just want to clarify on current LLM systems. So React, so LLM system is getting more intelligent, more and
Yes.
more.
Yes.
So the React should be somehow implemented already in the way they do it, right?
True,
Unless if you do like
but
API things, you need to really clarify very carefully the steps. But if you just use prompts for LLM, the LLM's supposed to have the React system already installed, right?
That's true, but only thing is that I'm giving the two examples of one from supply chain versus the internal systems. Maybe some reasoning steps may not require day-to-day, minute-by-minute knowledge, right? So some of the IT systems, I may be upgrading my system of rules and all maybe once in a quarter. I'm not like updating every minute, right? If you're thinking those kind of applications, I may not require React. Existing chain of thought is okay, but all other things in terms of practical aspects where you have some dependency, definitely you can. This is an extension only, right? So React is reasoning plus Act. The chain of thought is already part of it.
So Professor, is there anything related to? No, I don't think there is anything related. But all of the LLMs have some types of like the models, like Opus, Fable,
Yeah.
Sonnet, and it's used for different tasks, right? And some is more are more advanced than others. And does it mean that those that more advanced use more like method, like more advanced method, like reacting or something like that, right? And so sometimes from what I can understand, like we can understand simply is that some tasks you only need very simple models. You don't need some advanced techniques, but some it requires higher techniques, and that's zero understanding, right?
That's true. So based on the situation, yes, one side we are improving these kind of sorry. One side we are improving the performance of these LLMs are improving, and then what kind of knowledge we are getting into the system, and then these design patterns are also getting into more and more advanced as well, right? So some of them, like chain of thought itself, looks like very complex in earlier. Now it is becoming very common. So like that, you should be able to get it into the flow. But as long as you understand the basic stuff, it should be good for you to follow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So that gives us we will go in these LLM things I will take little later. So next, let me answer your questions if you have anything on this and even on the assignment, and then I will go into the demo thing on the towards the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Professor.
Sam. Yeah.
So, for the chain of thought and React, can we classify them as an orchestration layer that decides like when to reason, when to retrieve information from RAG, invoke external tools? Can we classify them as an orchestration layer? It's pretty separate from the LLM.
Which
And
one you want to
this is
separate it as an orchestration? Is it for the React thing you are talking?
React, chain of thought, and RAG.
Not really an orchestration.
They are not inside the LLM, right? They're not built inside the LLM.
They are not building inside LLM, right? LLM has actually the knowledge, and how are you prompt? These are like prompt design patterns.
Right. And
when you say orchestration, at what level?
At the level of the prompter, we design the instructions, and we design the knowledge base KB. At the process of designing the knowledge base and designing the instructions, can we call it the orchestration layer by human?
Not really. So there is an overlap you can see from an orchestration kind of a activity, but those just the chain of thought and all may not be called as an orchestration. Okay. So maybe in an agent terminology we have all this multi-agent orchestration and all that, but in a LLM point, the orchestration is just giving a direction kind of a thing, right? So it can give you that way, that is those design patterns, but we generally won't refer that as a orchestration layer per se, right? It is giving as a design pattern to solve your let's say particular requirement. Okay.
Thank you.
So Jhansi, any question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Professor. So for example, like, I already explained about my organization chatbot. Okay, so for example, if I'm asking to my organization chatbot, like whatever the customers we deliver late, suppliers we provided the late last month. Okay, just you can say 7 days or something like. If we use this chain of thought, might be from my understanding, what you mentioned in this current slide, it just answers existing without going to the system and without checking anything inside the system based on the standard generic information it provides answer. But if I use the React, maybe it goes to first the supplier information, and it queries what are the purchase order we provide, and it first collect the supplier information and then find out the SLA. We have a different database, so supplier database and then SLA database, and then finally, yeah, it identify which are the suppliers violated the SLA and provide the results. My
Okay.
question is very simple. Since we are using React, so it is very clear why it is querying and then finally trying to identify the answer. It's not
Okay.
randomly guessing. In that case, if
Yes.
it's the React, hallucination is always zero. Shall we trust the system if it is
Uh,
React?
I doubt. I doubt. We can't say
Mhm.
hallucination is zero any time, even for the React. But only thing is definitely because we are going into a thought process, then reasoning and act. Definitely better than the other ones. But you need to do a lot of human validations before we get it into the level of what we are talking at a zero hallucination. Because this, anyway, at the end you need to understand these are all probabilistic systems, right? So if you want to
Okay.
control some of the other parameters beyond this one, beyond this design pattern, there are a lot of things which are comes into play. There also you can't say zero hallucination, but definitely we are closer to that. So that's
Okay.
what we can say.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor. Thank you then. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions people have? No. Okay. Now I think I can open before this LLM demos and all which I want to share. The PFT we may not be able to do that. We'll see. Anyway, another 20 minutes I can take. So before that, any questions on the assignment what we have submitted? Then I will take up this LLM part.
Prof, we didn't receive it yesterday. We only got it during the session today.
During the
So
session,
yeah,
If you have any
so I
questions,
haven't been able
because
to
just
go
only
through
to,
it yet.
no issues. If you have anything, go ahead. Just maybe just 2-page document only, no issues. Then what we will be, and my recommendation is the basic FAQs people ask is, okay, can I take my problem or do I need to stick to 10? No, I clearly told yesterday itself. It is you can take your own problem. If you are stuck anywhere, that is just a reference. That is one common question I'll get. Second common question which I can get is, do you want me to implement something before the deadline? Yes. But am I prescribing only you need to use Azure or the one which I'm showing local, or maybe I'm comfortable with the AWS or GCP? Is there any restriction? There is no restriction. As long as you are giving us the screenshots confirming that you are able to get that, I'm perfectly fine in that is what we are talking about. Any other things before
Yes.
that? Let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, Professor, for assignment 1, can I go the direction of a custom GPT by OpenAI?
Yeah,
Custom GPT.
you can, no problem. So as long as you are trying to explain what you have done, are you getting a problem and solving that with what are the things what you understand from prompt or RAG, I'm fine with that.
Uh-huh.
So, Professor,
Yeah.
Thank you.
The assignment, although I haven't gone through with that, because I'll be going either today or tomorrow.
No problem.
So the problem that we have there, is that something that can be done locally on our machine as well?
Yeah. Well, local also I'm perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm going to show, by the way, for the people another 15-20 minutes. So instructions, and I'm going to share that as well. That is optional for the some people who are not coming from the background of it. Don't worry at all. I don't want to bombard you with a lot of this, but if you are interested, have a look.
So can we have a one-shot example of what you're looking for?
Where you are talking about in the assignment you are talking?
Yeah, I'm being half facetious, but seriously, when we think of the actual solution, like, are we thinking about a solution that's sitting by itself that other users will interact with? Are we thinking about a prompt to solve one specific
question, like some of the examples suggest, or like in terms of what is a final product supposed to look like? How far are we supposed to go? That's what I'm trying to wrap my mind around.
Got it. So it is depends on your problem statement. You are targeting to give it to the customers, or it is for the internal usage you are talking about, or you want to build your own personal assistant, right? So I am flexible on those, but you need to define the scope of the problem statement in the beginning itself. Getting it? Because the usage point of it need not be always customer endpoint only, right?
All right.
Am I answering your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ish.
Professor, this is Mary. During the presentation, do we actually need to show you a solution to do a demo?
You are talking about the second assignment?
The group assignment, I suppose.
Group assignment? Yes. You are talking about, can you please repeat the question? Group assignment, what you are asking specifically?
Sorry, I didn't go through the document well, but just glanced through. So I was just wondering, when you wanted a solution, do we need to show you an application?
Working demo. No. Working demo is not the compulsory one for the group assignment. Group assignment will have as the rubrics if you follow. It needs to design a solution, architecture. This is how the ROI product roadmap is okay, right? On top of it, if you want to get a little more in terms of a demo or a prototype and all, is bonus towards the end by given some points for the patentability or some innovation. Those things are very limited, but otherwise it's not compulsory. Then from an individual one, yes, you need to make your hands dirty. At least with any tool what you are comfortable with. So you need to get the confidence on that.
Got it. Okay, thanks. So for the individual assignment or the group assignment, we could use any vibe code tool as well, correct?
No problem. Use it. Perfectly fine. No issues for me. But you are getting me architecture. This is how I'm able to solve it and then able to demonstrate in a screenshot for the individual assignment how I am solving it. That's the idea.
Sure. Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
But
Yes, Professor.
Yes, go ahead.
So maybe I will ask a couple of questions. So the first one would be like, so the second assignment, the individual assignment, it is talking about the total marks is only 25 and the other page is total mark is 50. But now, where is the remaining 25 marks? Is it combined or?
Which one you are talking about?
So we
The
got
individual?
two. Yeah, we got two Word document. Okay.
Two Word
In the-
documents, yes.
Yeah. The group final assignment says that total marks 50.
Correct.
Okay. But the second Word document, if we open, it says total marks 25.
Yes. So you are talking about total 100 where the remaining 25
Yes, exactly.
No,
So-
it is not like that. So this 25
Okay.
is a 60% weightage.
Okay.
That 50% is only 40% weightage. Finally, what you will
Okay.
get is a normalized one. So
Okay,
it's not
got
like
it.
about yeah. We can if
Got
you
it.
want about 100 also we can make it. Anyway, it is the percentage wise.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I just thought is there anything we missed out?
No,
That's what I asked.
nothing. Those are
And
the
the
two
second,
points.
yeah, and the second one is about the number of pages. So, for example, the individual assignment you've given like 7 pages, and extra 3 pages is more than
Total,
10.
not more than 10 pages.
10, yes. And the group assignment, you also requested for the report as well as for the presentations. So,
Yes.
yeah, presentation clearly says a 10 pages pitch, but for the report, do we have any restrictions for the
No,
report?
I don't have any report restriction because the group assignment, if you want to go, some people want to go. I have seen some reports which are 50 page, 100 page also, right? So there is no restriction on that because some of them really utilizing the 1 month of time which is available. For some of them, it may be a starting point for their thesis. So I don't have any restriction on the number of pages because the purpose also I'll tell you. In case of the first assignment, if I don't put the restriction I have seen in the earlier cohort, they just put it into the GPT and then getting all the junk, right? So instead of that, I want to give you use the tools, no problem. I'm not restricting you. But are you giving me the confidence saying that I'm taking a real problem using these Gen AI tools? This is what the architecture I want to follow. This is what the tool, and then giving the screen. That is 10 pages more than enough. right?
Got
So
it.
that's the purpose. And second one, because I am giving you a wealth of your resource, your own group resources, and each of you good at different thing, and taking a specific problem, 1 month is good amount of time to get it into. The restriction of that presentation also, because you will get 20 minutes of time, 10 minutes Q&A. I don't want to get 20 slides, 30 slides and all. It will not be. Right. So usually you will restrict 10, 12 slides so that you will effectively present it. And the rest of the details, if you want to flash during the Q&A or maybe anyway, by the time I give the final gradings and all, I will go through the report as well, right? I'm not expecting entire work of 1 month, five people getting described within 20 minutes, right? So major parts, as per the rubrics, you people are presenting it. Rest of them, you can take the help of the notebook. Okay, you need to be smart in that as well, right? Some people, what I've seen, the entire GenAI solution, very high level, like 3 boxes they have shown here. Rest of the details, okay, show it, see the whatever the report, right? But you need to be smart. What we are expecting, because we clearly given the rubrics. This is what we are expecting. So on top of it, anything specific, definitely you will highlight in those 10, 12 slides. And whatever is really required, the detailed one or maybe the abstracted one, you need to be smart in presenting it so that everybody else also understand the depth where you went. And rest of the details, inner details, you can leave it to the report.
Got it. And one more thing, Professor, it's my dear only. So because now we are in the fourth session, yes, sir. So for example, we are going to cover it for even the last before the presentation. Also, we are going to cover a few topics. So is
Yes.
there any way we can get it? Like, of course, we have the list of topics in the high level table provided. What are the session is all about? We have a sub title of each session. Is there anywhere you have it listed out? Then it is also good if you can give us, and so good for preparing our
We can.
presentation.
So what we will do here is anyway the most of them are prompt and RAG based only. Even now, if I go to this last thing, if I have anything on that, no, here I don't have, but I will add 1, 2 slides on the what I am trying to cover from the RAG as well, right? In this one, so that will give you good enough in terms of maybe by next Saturday itself, you have enough knowledge to start your work. Even now also you have enough knowledge to start, and you will get into the prompting RAG and all by next weekend. Next weekend you will get the hands-on exercise of Azure and this as well, right?
Great.
So don't wait for, okay, till RAG example completes on 29, I have 1 week, I'll complete it. No, that will not be sufficient. You need to think of all the things what you can start from tomorrow itself, the knowledge base, the problem, then prompting you want to try. You don't have any knowledge on RAG, that's okay. But still this 1 week is good enough for you to think through in terms of what you are trying to plan. Maybe from an exercise on, if you want to use Azure, anyway, you are going to get a week, 1 week from now, right? So after that, you have enough time to even practice and then show it.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay. So are we good? Or any other questions?
Yeah, I guess my turn.
Yeah, I think 2 more people. Yeah, go ahead.
My question is more of like, would you be sharing with us like how are we expected to create our own knowledge base?
No, there is nothing explicitly I am planning, right? If you are, anyway, we were going to cover some kind of a vector databases, some examples on ChromaDB or Pinecone, those things I will cover anyway next slot, next Monday on, next Saturday, right? Our session, yeah, 5th session is what we talked about. Other than that, if you are not using RAG, if you are using any of the data, it can be any standard knowledge base what you have, right? It can be a database, it can be a document. I don't have any restriction on the type of that. If you are using only prompting, if you are using for a particular RAG kind of a thing, I'll be able to demonstrate with an example in the next session.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Professor.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Professor. On the assignment 1, first, second, and third page. On the third page,
okay,
somewhere in the middle, before the table, it says score distribution for assignment 2. So, are there 3 parts?
No. I think I understand where you are coming from. Let me clarify that. In the third page, what is the thing you were talking about?
On the third page, somewhere in the middle, bolded words, it says score distribution for assignment 2. So
core distribution for assignment. You are talking about assignment 1 only, right? Assignment 1, Somewhere.
Yes, Professor. In assignment 1, you have it actually. This is
At the
also
top,
I
yes.
thought.
Go ahead. I will correct it if there is anything like that. Which I'll show my screen itself. Let me start sharing my full screen. Yeah, I opened the assignment 1. Which one is that you are talking?
You go to the okay, here. You see score distribution for assignment 2.
Okay. No, maybe my assignment 1 only. So this is for individual assignment, right? So maybe earlier we used to have 3 assignments total. So first one is a very basic one, then second one. That's the reason it might have been taken it as assignment, but no, this is assignment 1 only. So group assignment, individual one. Assignment 1 is individual, assignment 2 is the group one.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? Do we need to share the knowledge base as part of the assignment? I'm planning to use my organization's data to perform sales forecasting and also what you need to do in those cases, Nimish, you don't require to share the entire thing, but the sample snapshot you need to understand so that you can share. You don't require the entire knowledge base. Yeah, go ahead. Any other question? Okay. So then if I answered your questions, Atif has, when is the deadline? Deadline also I have provided. One is for 2nd August, is for the individual one. Then 14th, anyway, 15th and 16th are our presentations, right? So if you talk about those, 15th and 16th are our presentations. One day before that is your submission. So the initial intention is if I give 10th for the individual assignment, then 1 week you will not be able to concentrate. So you have enough things to cover by 2nd. So you still have almost like 20 more days, right? It should be good enough so that you will get enough time for your group assignment as well. That's the thought process. Yeah, Badar?
Just one thing about the delivery of the materials. For the individual, you're expecting to receive a report, right? And the
Yes.
group report plus PowerPoint.
Presentation. Report plus PowerPoint. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So while submission also, I keep getting at least one member, one group. Okay, I forgot the report. Can I again? So just make sure whether it is a zip file or some places it is maybe a drive link. It is up to you. So, but make sure both of them should reach us for your final evaluation. Okay.
How about, sorry, I don't know whether somebody has asked. How about the group, sir?
Group
will
only.
it be published later?
Which one? Group 1, I
Yeah,
think.
group
Oh, okay.
assignment
Group
we
members.
got, but
Okay, no
which
groups.
group we participate
That they
as
will, they Akshit and those people will take care. I don't have any clue on that. So we can ask them to form. I'll reply to that saying, okay, just form as soon as possible if it's the same groups or different groups, so that you can start work on that, right?
Sure.
And
Thanks.
then my recommendation is you don't require to wait. So maybe if just general recommendation is each individually thought at least for the next 1 week or few days because everybody is working and I know you will be definitely busy with your own work as well. But before next weekend, try to get a good hold of your individual assignment so that some of the people before deciding the group assignment are extending the individual one also, right? Convincing the other people. So even the group names are there and all, my recommendation individually have a let's say the control of your individual problem. And then if you see the scope of it, convince the others, and then some of them can continue with the group assignment. That's just a general recommendation, but I leave it to you. Okay. If you're good so far, then is there any other question there? Any possibility of making group assignment also as individual? We allowed to do it? No. The point is there is some group learning which you will get in the process. Second thing is we need to, if you all 40 people, 50 people do it, and then I will not get the time to evaluate within the presentation thing. The reason also, we see a real value when you do it in a group and then attending not as a closed evaluation, what the other people are also doing, how they are solving. Because a lot of you, even individually today also, there is a question where one person is not happy in the number of examples, industry examples I gave, right? Every session may not be really possible to have all the sessions, because some of them on the transformers, then on the next session, I'll completely go into technical aspects. I may not be able to give real world examples, right? So by the way, why I'm just referring that is those two last sessions, the intention to have a open evaluation is you understand the best practices, what they are able to follow, because within the time you may not be able to follow all that. So that's the reason we encourage not the individual ones. Maybe there are extreme cases where 1, 2 people are there and all, but otherwise, usually 10 groups, 15 groups, all maybe 10, 12 groups is typically they are divided into, and then you will learn more from that process as well. Okay, so if I go there, the last few minutes of this one, I was telling the demo sessions, right? So if I, because it is a full screen one, so for some of you, you might not be able to fulfill the things here, but just follow the instructions for next few minutes, and then I will try to show it to you what it is, and I'll give you what I will tell you what these are. So I already told you some kind of a Llama, LLAMA Llama from Llama 2, Llama 3 from Meta, right? This Olam is different. So this is what actually a platform that allows us to run the open source LLMs locally. Otherwise, you can just think of it. You install a Llama 2, Llama 3, or Falcon or Mistral, some model, but some platform needs to be there to run it, right? So that is the kind of a platform this Ollama is. And then in my case, I do have just installed it earlier. But once you install that and then run it, it will open like this, right? Installation also, it is not very difficult. I'll try to open, okay, let it come, but I'll try to show it to you here. If you go into ollama.com, so this is the one, install, okay. So search models, then download option is there, right? So you just need to download and click, that's it. Whether it is a Mac or Windows, doesn't matter. So you will be able to install it. Once you install it, then you need to run it. That will follow the on-screen instructions to complete installation. Then comes what? Pulling, by default, it will come just as a platform. It doesn't have anything which is inherent with that. So then what will happen, if you see here, there are so many models which are available here, right? Llama 3.2 is, we're not seeing any download button or cloud button and all. That means that is the model which I installed in the local one. I have not installed anything on the Qwen or the GLM or any of them. So what does that mean? I have one local model which is running. That means open your terminal, let's say the terminal. So in that, actually, you need to give a command like this. If you go there, pulling the one, something like this, Ollama pull Mistral, whatever, right? So maybe I'll put the Llama 2 or Mistral also will try to install. It may take some bandwidth. It will try to search and then get that, right? So it may be getting it into almost like 4.4 GB. Right, so let it go. So I'm just showing you as an example because Mistral I have not installed earlier. Llama installed. On top of it, you want to run Ollama run hello world. So where here only in the command line itself, maybe I'll go into another command line. So I want to run that and then, oh, where it is going. Llama 3 is also not there. That's the reason I think it is going into installation mode. So I don't require all this for my things. I'll close this. So maybe Mistral also you will be able to, I'm just showing you that as an example. So, but whether it is a Llama 3 or Llama 3.2 or 2. Specific version is what I have, we need to give that. On top of it, that means what? To run locally, you need a platform, you need a local LLM. That's what I have shown you with the 2, 3 examples. On top of it, you need some kind of a notebook to run. So if you are familiar with Jupyter or any of the Anaconda or WinPython, so Jupyter also in your case, I'm sure you are familiar with Python, most of you. but are you familiar with the Jupyter Notebook as well, locally or globally? Global means
Yes.
that Colab. Okay. If you have a local installation, good enough. Then only thing you need is some Olama installation. May take some half an hour or so overall, along with some kind of Elama 3.2 or 2 models if you have locally. That's good enough. Only these two are instructions. Anyway, I'm sharing it to you. Try doing it. Okay. After that, you need to have to run this. I need something like a LangChain. Okay. And use Olama with a LangChain in Python. What does that mean? This one I can do within the notebook itself. I'll open one sample notebooks. Where do I have that? Let me stop sharing here, and then I'll open one notebook. Sample notebooks also, if you want to use it, I can give that as well. Mm, assignments, no, the notebooks. I think I have in Python. There it should be able to help you out. I'm just starting that in Python, Jupyter Notebook. So it can have Anaconda or any of the distribution, doesn't matter. So what you require is the Olama with one package, at least one LLM to start with. So some sample, okay, let me share my screen. I started the WinPython. I'm starting the full screen. So if I start the WinPython, so this is how we go into, where is this? No, where it went. Yeah. So this is the WinPython thing where Jupyter Notebook I double clicked. Otherwise, also in your Anaconda or any distribution, right? Or even the Google Colab and all, maybe for the online versions, but this is a local one, right? So that's what we are trying to. So where is this? Oh, another window it is trying to open. Don't tell me. It is doesn't require to open another window. That's okay. So there are a lot of examples. Maybe this is the one I was talking about. If I double click this, I can share this kind of code also for the people. So I need to pip install LangChain core, LangChain community, LangChain Olama, the connection of that, right? So once I able to do that, pip install, then I can run some of these examples like this. So now let me see if I just run this. Because it will not take much time. So that I will share this code, no issues. But if you go to the code part of it for the people who are interested, so this is the way I am trying to connect the Olama with LangChain. It is able to run here. So the second one also, I'm trying to explain what it is, and then I'll show you one prompt and then close the session for today. So explain the benefits of local AI in simple terms. That's the prompt I'm trying to give. What is the LLM I have? If you have, I have whatever is the local LLM you installed. I installed Llama 3.2. I don't have Mistral or Llama 3.3 and all. This version what I have. Then I'm giving a prompt just to explain the benefits and response I want to invoke here and response I'm trying to print. So let's see. It is giving any error here, why it is giving like this, or it is going to run. Let me see that. It should be able to run. It may be taking some time to invoke and all that. Usually it should. Okay, let's see that. So that means it is getting from the local LLM the response. After that, while it is running and closing that, I'll show it to you. There is some kind of a prompt template also I can prepare. So for instance, it is like a template is a question answer. Then I can create the chain. This is where the real LangChain value comes into picture. The prompt is coming as a template. Then I am creating a chain. I am asking what is the response for that question. Explain prompt engineering. It is trying to give you, this is the kind of a response it is trying to give. Step by step, explainable. This is where the prompt it is showing. Right. So maybe in a response also you can put it into a structure, a role, content. You remember there is an option of temperature, topic. You can control that also. By default in the beginning I have not talked about, but here we can talk and see the response. right? So like that, you can play locally as well. And this chain along with, I mean, this notebook along with the PPT, I'll share it right away after the session. Okay. So I calculated this. It is still going on, or got the response? Yeah. You ignore those errors. Can you see here? This is what I generated in front of you. You will let me generate the next one also. It may take few seconds because it's a local one, but it will generate that response. Okay. Any questions, or are you getting what we are talking about? Any possibility of making that I talked about?